Chapter 2644. He would never give up. Longao's expression was serious. If even the neutral Primal Chaos Stone Tablet was unable to activate the Primal Chaos Stone Tablet in Songlin's body, then he really couldn't think of a better method. He hoped it would succeed. With extreme caution, Longao carefully activated the power of the neutral Primal Chaos Stone Tablet and slowly sent it into Songlin's body. He was extremely careful. Longao had already decided that the moment the power of the neutral Primal Chaos Stone Tablet entered Songlin's body, if there was any mishap, he would immediately withdraw the power of the Stone Tablet. No obstruction? Sensing the power of the neutral Primal Chaos Stone Tablet entering Songlin's body, there was no obstruction at all. He was instantly overjoyed. Longao naturally knew what this meant. He might really succeed. Still being extremely careful, Longao controlled the power of the neutral Primal Chaos Stone Tablet and slowly moved towards the Primal Chaos Stone Tablet in Songlin's body. As time slowly passed, Longao's expression became more and more serious. It's being blocked by the Primal Chaos Stone Tablet. Longao could sense the existence of the Primal Chaos Stone Tablet in Songlin's body, but he couldn't sense what element it was. Not to mention the element of the Primal Chaos Stone Tablet, he couldn't even sense its level. What was going on? He was helpless. Although he had the neutral Primal Chaos Stone Tablet and wasn't rejected by the Primal Chaos Stone Tablet in Songlin's body, it was hard to activate the Primal Chaos Stone Tablet to repair itself. This was the crucial point. If the Primal Chaos Stone Tablet couldn't repair itself, then Songlin's injuries would never recover. Without a doubt, to Songlin, time was everything. The longer it dragged on, the more disadvantageous it was for Songlin. He couldn't enter the Primal Chaos Palace. If even the neutral Primal Chaos Stone Tablet couldn't activate the Primal Chaos Stone Tablet to repair itself, then he really couldn't think of any other method. He was helpless to the extreme. Even if he couldn't activate the Primal Chaos Stone Tablet to repair itself, Longao still didn't choose to give up. If 1 time wasn't enough, then 2 times. If 2 times wasn't enough, then 3 times. If 3 times wasn't enough, then 4 times. As long as he could heal Songlin, he didn't care what price he had to pay. In the blink of an eye, 100 years quietly passed. Within 100 years, Longao had borrowed the attributeless Primal Chaos Stone Tablet and tried countless times. Even he had forgotten about it. In the end, every time the result was the same. She was unable to activate the Primal Chaos Stone Tablet to repair itself. As a result, Songlin was still unconscious. Over the past 100 years, many people had come to persuade Longao. However, no matter who came, Longao remained unmoved for a month. Everyone sighed endlessly. In an elegant courtyard, Aoshua's expression was very serious. She said anxiously, "Sister Yuin, we have to think of a solution as soon as possible. It's been 100 years. If this continues, I'm afraid." Speaking of this, Aoshua did not continue to speak, but the meaning in her words was already very clear. Whether it was Yuin, Bai Ling, or Yenner, they all knew what Aoshua meant. So what if he knew? If Longao had listened to his advice, then today's incident would not have happened. It would be a lie to say they weren't worried. Yu Yin's expression was also very serious. She smiled helplessly and said, "Brother Ao's personality you all know. We've tried to persuade him for 100 years, but no one has been able to persuade him. Tell me, what else can we do?" Yuin was more worried about Longao's safety than anyone else. However, she also understood the guilt and self-blame in Longao's heart. Because if it wasn't for him, Songlin would not have fallen to this point. No matter what, Songlin was not only the ruler of Starry Sky, but also the ruler of Starry Sky who had grasped the power of primal chaos. If it wasn't for this, no one in the entire Hero Starry Sky would be able to hurt Songlin. In the beginning, Yuin and the others were more or less a little uncomfortable in their hearts. It would be a lie to say that the person they loved suddenly had another close female friend. It would be a lie to say that they didn't feel the slightest bit of displeasure. However, knowing that Song Lin was like this for Brother Ao, as time passed, the ill feelings in their hearts slowly disappeared. The four of them also hoped that Song Lin could wake up. In that case, not only would they have another good sister, but they would also be able to stop Brother Ao from being like this. Seeing Brother Ao like this, the four of them felt a little distressed. However, the four of them were more helpless because no one could heal Song Lin's injuries, let alone the four of them. What should they do? At this time, Murong Yener thought for a moment and said, "Three sisters, I have an idea. I don't know if it will work, but in the current situation, we might as well give it a try. Even if it fails." Before Murong Yener finished speaking, Aoshue had already interrupted her and said a little impatiently, "Little sister Yener, no matter what method it is, we have to try. Otherwise, if this continues, I really can't believe what will happen to Brother Ao. Little sister Yener, what method do you have? Hurry up and tell us." Aoshue wasn't the only one who was a little anxious, even the other two were a little anxious. Murong Yener didn't have the slightest confidence in her heart. If she hadn't waited for 100 years, she definitely wouldn't have said it so casually. She thought for a moment and said, "Three sisters, my method is actually very simple. It's to let Brother Ao and big sister Song Lin consummate their marriage." Consummate their marriage? What did that mean? The three women were a little confused by Murong Yener's method. They didn't know how the two of them consummating their marriage would help Song Lin recover from her injuries. It was a little ridiculous, but the three women knew very well that if there wasn't any basis for it, Murong Yener wouldn't have said it so casually. "Little sister Yener, what does your method mean? Don't speak in riddles with us, we can't take it anymore." Murong Yener didn't continue to dawdle and said, "I'm just guessing based on my guess. Big sister Song Lin and Brother Ao both devoured the Chaos Stone Tablet. If the two of them consummate their marriage, perhaps they can make up for each other. In that case, maybe Brother Ao's non-attributed Chaos Stone Tablet can trigger the Chaos Stone Tablet in Big Sister Song Lin's body to self-repair. So that's how it is." Yin and the other two weren't fools. Of course, they could understand the meaning behind Murong Yener's words. It sounded a little ridiculous, but in this kind of situation, no matter what method it was, they were willing to try. Yin, Aoshue, Bai Ling, and Murong Yener all stood up at the same time. The four women all headed in the same direction at an extremely fast speed. In a short while, the four women had all arrived at Song Lin's courtyard. Chapter 2645. Why are you guys here? What happened? Looking at the four girls who suddenly came together, Longao was very curious. He didn't know why the four of them came together. He was very curious. Under normal circumstances, the four of them wouldn't come together. Could it be that something had happened? Just as Longao was very anxious and didn't know what was going on, Brother Ao, little sister Yener thought of a way. Maybe it can save sister Song Lin. Hearing Yin's words, Longao was completely stunned. Because he never would have thought that Yener would think of a way to save Song Lin. It was hard to believe. After all, it had been 100 years since the Jianling Mountain incident. In these 100 years, no matter who it was, no one had any way to save Song Lin. There was a time when even Longao himself wanted to give up. He would never give up. "Yener, what method is it?" He was a little impatient. In these 100 years, Longao had been living in self-blame and guilt. There wasn't a moment when he didn't think of a way to save Song Lin. Now that he finally had a method, it would be strange if he wasn't anxious. He didn't care at all. Murong Yener of course knew that Brother Ao was anxious. Without any hesitation, she immediately said, "Brother Ao, I'm just guessing. The attribute-less primal chaos stone tablet that you have should be a high-grade one. It should be very mysterious." Nodding, Longao didn't know what this had to do with the attributeless primal chaos stone tablet. As for the attributeless primal chaos stone tablet, other people might not know, but that didn't mean that Yuan and the others didn't know. To the four of them, Longao didn't hide it at all. Murong Yener seemed to want to say something but stopped. It almost made Longao anxious. Aoshue rolled her eyes at Murong Yener and said, "Let me say it." The more the four girls were like this, the more Longao was curious. He didn't know what method it was that made Murong Yener so embarrassed. Just as Longao was filled with curiosity, Aoshue said, "Brother Ao, little sister Yen, Er's method is actually very simple. The attributeless primal chaos stone tablet you have is very special. If you can consummate with big sister Tsonglin, perhaps it will work." Aoshue did not continue speaking after saying this, but the meaning in her words was already very clear. Longao wasn't an idiot. He instantly understood what Aoshue and the other girls meant. Bridal chamber? Longao was a little helpless. Even if he knew that Tsonglin liked him, it was absolutely impossible for him to consummate his marriage with Tsonglin. Was that even possible? He felt helpless. Helplessly shaking his head, he helplessly said, "The four of you, don't think too much. I know what you mean. There's basically no need to try. I already know that even if the two of us consummate our marriage, we won't be able to trigger the Chaos Stone tablet in Tsonglin's body to repair itself." "Brother Ao, why is that?" It was Bai Ling who asked the question. Among the four girls, Bai Ling was the most quiet. Under normal circumstances, she wouldn't make a sound. Longao also did not conceal anything in the slightest. He recounted everything that had happened before in full detail. Whether it was the Primal Chaos Palace or the attributeless Primal Chaos Stone Tablet, they couldn't help Tsonglin. If that was the case, would there still be a bridal chamber? It was completely conceivable. The four girls sighed helplessly. They thought that Brother Ao and Big Sister Tsonglin could give it a try. Even if it didn't work, it didn't matter. After all, the two of them had feelings for each other. If it was before, Longao would definitely tease the four girls. But now, the situation was very different. He really didn't have the mood to tease the four girls. The four girls also knew that Longao was very frustrated. After a few simple words, the four of them left. In a short while, the four of them had disappeared without a trace. Seeing the four girls leave, Longao helplessly shrugged. The four of them were too worried. Otherwise, they wouldn't be like this. "Why don't you try the four of them? Maybe it will work." Without turning his head, Longao already knew who had come. "Xiling, you should know the situation better than me. I don't have time to mess around with them." Xiling also had a helpless expression. Longao continued, "It's been 100 years, but I still haven't thought of a good way to help Tsonglin. If this continues, no one knows what will happen. Previously, I used the attributeless Primal Chaos Stone Tablet to test the Primal Chaos Stone Tablet in Tsonglin's body. Don't talk about activating the Primal Chaos Stone Tablet to repair itself. The Primal Chaos Stone Tablet in Tsonglin's body didn't even react." This was what made Longao the most depressed. He had thought of all the methods he could think of, but there wasn't a single one that could help Tsonglin. He wanted to, but he was powerless. How could Xiling not know Longao's helplessness? He said, "Longao, I still say the same thing. If you want to rely on external forces to help Tsonglin recover, it's a fool's dream. The only way is to self-repair, and the key is the Primal Chaos Stone Tablet in Tsonglin's body. Other than that, you don't have to waste any more time." Longao nodded in agreement. Longao had already known about this point. However, knowing was one thing and actually doing it was another. After all, he had already thought of countless methods, but he was still unable to activate the Primal Chaos Stone Tablet in Tsonglin's body to carry out the so-called self-recovery. The more he thought about it, the more helpless and anxious he felt. What should he do? Longao, after 100 years of thinking, I still feel that if you want to activate the Primal Chaos Stone Tablet in Song Lin's body to self-repair, you can only rely on your attribute-less Primal Chaos Stone Tablet. The other Primal Chaos Stone Tablets can't even get close, and will even have the opposite effect. Had the opposite effect. As early as 90 years ago, Xiling had tried this move to see if his Sword Intent Primal Chaos Stone Tablet could help Song Lin activate the Primal Chaos Stone Tablet in her body to self-repair. However, the result was that not only was there no progress, but it also almost killed Song Lin. Even so, Longao was still a little unwilling. Apart from letting Xiling do it, he also let Long Chong do it. He wanted to see if Longao could use the 5-elemental Primal Chaos Stone Tablet in his body to help Song Lin activate the Primal Chaos Stone Tablet in her body to self-repair. The result was almost the same as Xiling's, and also almost killed Song Lin. At this point, Longao didn't dare to borrow the hands of others because he had discovered that no matter whose Primal Chaos Stone Tablet it was, as long as it entered Song Lin's body, not only would it not help Song Lin, it would even have the opposite effect, except for his attribute-less Primal Chaos Stone Tablet. As for the reason, not only Longao, but even Xiling didn't know the reason. It was also because of this that Longao didn't choose to give up in the past 100 years. Instead, he kept trying to use the attribute-less Primal Chaos Stone Tablet in his body, hoping that one day, he would be able to use it to activate the Primal Chaos Stone Tablet in Song Lin's body to self-repair. Chapter 2646. He was helpless to the extreme. At the same time, he was depressed to the extreme. After waiting for 100 years, Longao couldn't wait any longer. Who knew what would happen to Song Lin if he continued to wait? What if his luck wasn't good? Xiling naturally knew how serious the situation was. Longao, we still have to rely on your neutral Primal Chaos Tablet. Rely on his neutral Primal Chaos Tablet? How depressing. If his neutral Primal Chaos Tablet could successfully save Song Lin, he wouldn't have to be so frustrated. He had persisted for 100 years without any result. Did he have to continue? Longao didn't want to persist, nor did he want to give up. Instead, he was afraid that after persisting for countless years, he would discover that he had taken the wrong path. At that time, it would be difficult to turn back. He seemed to be able to guess what Longao was thinking. Xiling sighed deeply and helplessly said, Longao, you should note Song Lin's situation. Aside from your neutral Primal Chaos Tablet, there are no other methods. We can't afford to lose. Towards Xiling's meaning, how could Longao not know in his heart? Just as Xiling had said, he couldn't afford to lose. Xiling, I know what to do. In the following days, Longao continued to rely on his neutral Primal Chaos Tablet to think of a way to activate the Primal Chaos Tablet in Song Lin's body to repair itself. The result was the same. No matter how hard he tried, he couldn't activate the Primal Chaos Tablet in Song Lin's body. The more he thought about it, the more helpless he felt. What should he do? For 100 years, Master God Diviner had been trying to lock onto Longao's position. Only by locking onto him could he pay a huge price to invite other rulers of the universe to deal with Longao. Master God Diviner, who had been filled with confidence, suffered a heavy blow. After 100 years, he still hadn't been able to lock onto Longao's position. The Martial Heaven Continent. In the outer sea, within the Crystal Palace, Yigudu was no longer the same as before. He had successfully refined the Primal Chaos Tablet and become the ruler of the universe. Even so, he still greatly respected his father. Yigudu knew very well that if it weren't for his father, he wouldn't have been able to devour the Primal Chaos Tablet, much less become the ruler of the universe. He really couldn't figure out what was going on with Longao. Why couldn't even his father lock onto him? He couldn't do it in the past, he couldn't do it now, and he probably couldn't do it in the future. Could it be that he really had to wait for his father to grasp the primal chaos stone tablet before he could lock onto Longao's position? Who knew when his father would be able to control the primal chaos energy within the primal chaos stone tablet? Father, what should we do now? Whether it was Longao's talent, cultivation speed, or the two-star rulers by Longao's side, they were all very impressive. Now, if the two of them wanted to kill Longao, it was like a fool's dream. It was almost impossible. The only way was to join forces with the other Starry Sky rulers. Joining forces with the other Starry Sky rulers was easier said than done. They would probably have to pay an enormous price. Dugu, I know what you mean. Longao has two Starry Sky rulers by his side. That's not all. Based on my guess, if nothing unexpected happened, Longao probably obtained more than one Primal Chaos Stone tablet. When the Primal Chaos plane descended, it was common knowledge that there were a total of 12 Primal Chaos Stone tablets in the Primal Chaos plane. Longao had obtained 2 Primal Chaos Stone tablets while the other 10 had all disappeared. According to Longao himself, the 2 Primal Chaos tablets he had obtained had left on their own. Back then, Master God Diviner had sensed that Longao didn't have a Primal Chaos tablet, so he hadn't paid much attention to it. But now that he thought about it, things weren't that simple. Father, you've already sensed that Longao doesn't have a Primal Chaos tablet's aura. He nodded. How could I not know what you're talking about? I don't know why, but I have a feeling that the 2 Primal Chaos tablets Longao obtained didn't leave on their own. Instead, they were devoured by Longao. If that's the case, then he devoured one of the Primal Chaos tablets, and the other person devoured the other one. Yidugu naturally knew what his father meant. If that was the case, then Longao and the other person had refined the Primal Chaos tablets at the same time, then the Soaring Dragon Empire would have 2 Starry Sky rulers. What kind of concept was that? 2 Starry Sky rulers, plus Xiling and Longchong. Didn't that mean the Soaring Dragon Empire would have 4 Starry Sky rulers? If it was 2 against 4, even if he and his father joined forces, they didn't have the slightest confidence in winning. Whether it was him, his father, or Longao and the other 3, none of them had grasped the Primal Chaos power within the Primal Chaos tablet. In that case, their strength was almost equal. In that case, they would have a huge advantage in numbers. There was no doubt about it. He was very afraid. Dugu, the current situation is very unfavorable for us. If it's as we guessed, Longao didn't leave when he obtained the 2 Primal Chaos tablets, then things will be very troublesome. Yidugu nodded in agreement. Of course, he knew what it meant if Longao didn't leave when he obtained the 2 Primal Chaos tablets. That was 2 Starry Sky rulers. But one had to know. Starry Sky rulers weren't cabbages on the street. There were many of them. Father, then what should we do now? Destroy them one by one. Destroy them one by one? What did his father mean by that? If we fight head-on, we can only slightly suppress Xiling and Longchong if we join forces. We won't be able to play a decisive role. Now, there are only 2 ways. The first is to lure Longao out and kill him. In that case, even if Xiling and Longchong want to take revenge, they won't be able to succeed. As for the second way, it's very simple. We will join forces with the other rulers of the Starry Sky to deal with Longao. In that case, even if Xiling and Longchong help us, we can still suppress them. Father, the other Starry Sky rulers aren't to be trifled with. If we take the initiative to mention it, even if the Blood Demon and the others have a grudge against Longao, I'm afraid they'll demand an exorbitant price. I know. How could the Oracle not know that if he took the initiative to mention it, the other party would definitely demand an exorbitant price? This was the real reason why the Oracle hadn't been willing to go to the Blood Demon and the others for the past 100 years. Unless it was absolutely necessary. If he couldn't destroy them one by one, then there was only one final outcome. No matter how unwilling he was, he could only go to the Blood Demon and the others. As long as he could find more than 2 starry sky rulers, then he would be able to suppress them. Chapter 2647. Absolute Suppression. It was easy to say but difficult to do. Even Master Godly Mathematician and Yi Dugu found it difficult. Otherwise, they wouldn't have had to wait 100 years. Tian Dao, Blood Demon, and Long Mia. One was the ruler of destruction, the other was the ruler of space, and the last was the ruler of reincarnation. After thinking about it, in the end, Master Godly Mathematician chose Tian Dao, Blood Demon, and Long Mia. Among the rulers of the universe, Master Godly Mathematician was confident that he could defeat them. Tian Dao, Blood Demon, and Long Mia each had their own grievances. The 3 of them were very curious. They didn't know why Master Godly Mathematician had called them here. If it had been before, the 3 of them would have thought that Master Godly Mathematician was their enemy. After all, they couldn't refine the Chaos Tablet and couldn't fight against him. Even if Master Godly Mathematician couldn't kill them, he could suppress them or send them into reincarnation. But now, the situation was completely different. In a state of confusion, they had successfully refined the Chaos Stone Tablet and become the rulers of the universe. In this situation, they didn't fear Master Godly Mathematician and Yi Dugu. If they couldn't defeat them, they could join forces. Not only would they have nothing to fear, but they could even suppress them. 3 against 2. Their chances of winning were very high. However, unless they had no other choice, they would not casually make a move. Master Godly Mathematician, if you have something to say, just say it. There's no need for this between us. He nodded. The 3 of you, congratulations on successfully becoming rulers of the universe. I called you here for no other reason than to think of a way to deal with Longao together. Deal with Longao? What did that mean? The 3 of them were very surprised in their hearts. That was because they had never thought that the God Diviner would look for the 3 of them to join hands to deal with Longao. It seemed a bit ridiculous. They knew Master Godly Mathematician's strength better than anyone else. What's more, Master Godly Mathematician was no longer alone. He had a ruler of the universe by his side. It was more than enough to deal with Longao. Why would he need them? Was there something fishy going on? The 3 of them didn't believe it. How could Master God Diviner be afraid of Longao? Unless Master God Diviner couldn't lock onto Longao's position. But then again, even Master God Diviner couldn't pinpoint Longao's location, let alone the 3 of them. It was completely ridiculous. Master God Diviner, why don't we get straight to the point? Don't you think your words are a bit too funny? Considering the strength of the 2 of you, do you really need to join forces with us to deal with Longao? What a joke. Blood Devil said, Dragon Destroyer is right. This is a bit funny. Clairvoyant, are you sure you're not joking with us? Master God Diviner wasn't the least bit surprised by the reaction of the 3 of them. He didn't care at all. You 3, do you think I'm joking? As soon as they heard Master God Diviner's words, they stopped laughing and clamped their mouths shut. The truth was that the 3 of them were doing this on purpose. They knew full well that Master God Diviner was telling the truth. Otherwise, Master God Diviner would really be bored out of his mind. Clairvoyant, if you have something to say, say it. Okay. Master God Diviner didn't want to waste time. He had to cut the Gordian knot. The 3 of you, to be honest, if it's just Longao, Dugu and I are strong enough to deal with him. The 3 of them didn't say anything. They just listened. Master God Diviner continued, I believe you already know that Xiling is standing by Longao's side. As for the 5 Elements ruler, the 5 Elements Chaos Tablet fell into the hands of Longchong. Both Xiling and Longchong have successfully refined the tablet and become Sword Ruler and 5 Elements Ruler. So that's how it is. The 3 of them weren't fools. They immediately understood what Master God Diviner meant. He was afraid of Xiling and Longchong. But then they understood. After all, the other side had 2 rulers of the stars. In a 2-on-2 situation, Master God Diviner and Yi Dugu wouldn't have the upper hand. If the three of them joined in, it would be a different story. 5 against 2, even if they couldn't kill Xiling and Long Chong, they could suppress them. There was no doubt about it. Dragon Destroyer sneered and said, "Master God Diviner, let's not beat around the bush. The grudge between you and Longao has nothing to do with the three of us. If that's the case, why should we help you deal with Longao?" As soon as Dragon Destroyer finished speaking, Blood Devil said, "If it was just Longao, we wouldn't have a problem. But you know about Xiling and Longchong. Do you think it's worth it for us to provoke 2 rulers of the stars for you?" Yi Dugu cursed in his heart. He wanted to kill the 3 of them, but in the end, his reason prevailed over his impulse. The 3 people in front of him were different from before. They had all become rulers of the stars. If he attacked them, it might backfire. No matter how angry Master God Diviner was, he said, "You 3, I don't need to say more about the grudge between you and Longao. Do you think Longao will let you go?" The 3 of them laughed. "Master God Diviner, you're joking. Even if Longao has 2 rulers of the stars, Longao can't deal with us. You don't need to worry about that." Using this to convince the 3 of them was a bit of a joke. The 3 of them didn't buy it. Master God Diviner didn't care at all. He knew that if it was that easy to deal with the 3 of them, it would be too easy. He wouldn't believe it. "I know what you 3 are thinking. I won't waste time. You know Longao's talent better than I do. I can tell you a secret. When Longao obtained the 2 Chaos Tablets, he didn't leave. If I'm not mistaken, the 2 Chaos Tablets are in Longao's hands." Just as Master God Diviner had predicted, the expressions of the 3 changed when they heard this. They knew exactly how powerful Longao's talent was. If he could devour the Primal Chaos Tablet, then there was no doubt that Longao would be able to refine the Primal Chaos Tablet and become the ruler of the universe. What kind of concept was that? If Longao could refine the Chaos Tablets and become a ruler of the stars, then the Soaring Dragon Empire would have 3 rulers of the stars. And according to Master God Diviner, Longao had more than 1 Chaos Tablet. What kind of concept was that? Chapter 2648. It would be a lie to say he wasn't simple. Whether it was the Bloodseeker, Dragon Destroyer, or even the Tao of Heaven, they all had grudges against Longao. Longao wasn't strong enough yet, so there was no way he'd come looking for them. Just because he didn't come now didn't mean he wouldn't in the future. If Longao really did devour the Primal Chaos Steel, then once he became a ruler of the stars, there was no doubt that Longao would come looking for them for revenge. If Longao was alone, none of them would be afraid. But that wasn't the case at all. Longao wasn't alone. Longao already had 2 ready-made rulers of the stars by his side, plus one who had also refined the Primal Chaos Steel and become a ruler of the stars. That made a total of 4 rulers of the stars. What kind of concept was that? 4 against 1. Even if they couldn't kill him, they could probably suppress him. They were very afraid. Seeing the expressions on their faces, Master God Diviner understood what they were thinking. He was overjoyed. This was exactly the result he wanted. The 3 of you, while Longao hasn't refined the Primal Chaos Steel and become a ruler of the stars, why don't we join forces to kill Longao? That way we can cut the weeds and eliminate the root. Cut the weeds and eliminate the roots, eliminating the root. In fact, the 3 of them wanted to kill Longao, because they knew that as long as Longao was alive, he would always be a problem. The reason they were doing this was to deal with Master God Diviner. After all, they didn't have a good relationship with him. On one side was Master God Diviner, on the other was Longao. What should they do? It was hard to choose. Master God Diviner, what can you give us? Nothing. They didn't back down in the slightest. Master God Diviner was no fool. He knew that if he backed down, the 3 of them would take a step forward, and he would take a step back. If they took a step forward, he would be in a very passive position. He couldn't back down even a single step. Absolutely not. If it were someone else, the three of them would definitely not back down so easily. Only Longao's situation was a little special. The three of them looked at each other. Master God Diviner, Yang Qi said. We can work together, but on one condition. Please speak. Blood Devil thought for a while and said, after the five of us kill Longao together, we will divide the things on Longao equally. No. Before Master God Diviner could say anything, Yi Dugu spoke up. In the past, he wouldn't have said anything. But now that he had assimilated the primal chaos stone steels and become the sovereign lord of the starry sky, he was basically on the same level as the other three. However, what the three of them meant was very simple. Once they killed Longao, the items on Longao's body would be divided equally among the four of them. Wouldn't that be looking down on them? The three of you, it seems like you're treating me like thin air. Blood Devil seemed to want to say something, but Dragon Annihilation stopped him. I almost forgot about you. Fine, the five of us will work together to deal with Longao. Once we kill Longao, we'll divide the things on Longao equally. This was the fairest way. If Master God Diviner didn't agree, then it would mean he wasn't sincere. It was still the same sentence. If they hadn't been in a hurry to kill Longao, Master God Diviner wouldn't have agreed to this arrangement so casually. Even now, Master God Diviner felt some regret. If he had been more decisive, then Blood Devil and the others wouldn't have been able to do anything in this vast universe. However, it was too late to regret now. Because of this, Master God Diviner didn't even think about it. He smiled and nodded. Fine, no problem. Let's do it this way. As long as the five of us work together to kill Longao, then we'll divide the things on Longao equally. If one of us doesn't contribute, then not only will we not get anything, but we'll also be killed by the others. What do you think? The three of them also wanted to kill Longao very much, so they didn't dawdle. Just like that, the five of them came to an agreement in the shortest time possible. However, before killing Longao, they had to lock onto Longao's position first. Otherwise, everything would be nonsense. Apart from Master God Diviner and Yun Lu, no one else knew about the white-clothed girl. Otherwise, how could Blood Devil and the other two have agreed so easily? In Master God Diviner's opinion, even if Longao handed over all the other things on him, as long as he could control the white-clothed girl, it would be enough. No matter how he calculated it, this was a sure win for him. As for the matter of Spirit Sword Mountain, it was still the same. If Master God Diviner did not mention it, no one would know about it. Especially now that Spirit Sword Mountain was guarded by Yun Lu and the other two. Even if others were to find out about it, no one would be willing to provoke Yun Lu and the others. The vast starry sky was exceptionally calm. Jianling Mountain. As time passed, Yun He and Yun Tian's expressions grew more and more serious. Patriarch, something doesn't seem right. Nodding his head, Yun Lu naturally knew that something was wrong. With a grave expression, he said, under normal circumstances, we should have succeeded by now. However, it seems that Song Lin didn't just seal the passage, she even tampered with it. Song Lin, Song Lin, Song Lin. Yun Lu was furious to the extreme when he called Song Lin 3 times in a row. He thought that the matter he had been waiting for countless years would finally succeed. However, he didn't expect that Song Lin would secretly tamper with it, causing him to be at a loss as to what to do now. Patriarch, since Song Lin doesn't want us to have an easy time, we don't need to be polite. Why don't we take advantage of the fact that Song Lin is seriously injured and pursue her and destroy her in one fell swoop? Waving his hand to stop the two, Yun Lu said, if it was anyone else, there wouldn't be the slightest problem. However, Song Lin is the only one. You should know what Song Lin represents. If we deal with her, things will only get worse. Whether it was Yun He or Yun Tian, they were well aware of Song Lin's identity. However, the two of them couldn't swallow their anger. They could have succeeded, but Song Lin's sudden intervention had caused them to be in a passive position. They were unwilling to give up just like that. Could it be that they were going to let it go just like that? How could Yun-Lu not know what the two of them were thinking? He said helplessly, "Things haven't reached the point of no return." Song Lin didn't take things too far. She just casually tampered with it. "As long as we spend enough time, there is still hope for this matter. The two of you shouldn't act rashly." Although they were unwilling, they felt even more helpless. After all, Song Lin's identity was just too terrifying. Chapter 2649. Yun-Lu wasn't willing to casually provoke Song Lin. If Song Lin was at her peak and Yun-Lu acted now, the chances of sealing her were too high. However, the power behind Song Lin made Yun-Lu reconsider. He was very wary. He could only choose to give up. This was also the reason why Yun-Lu and the other two were the most depressed. Comparisons were odious. With the addition of Blood Demon, Tian Dao and Long Mia, the three space rulers, Divine Mathematician's side now had a total of 5 space rulers. What kind of concept was this? Even if Xiling and Long Chong had already refined the Primal Chaos Tablet and became space rulers, it was almost impossible for them to fight 2 against 5. First plane. Long Chong's figure flickered continuously, finally stopping outside the first space empire. Song Lin's injuries hadn't recovered even after 100 years. Long Chong was very clear that even if he continued to stay, he wouldn't be of much use. There were still many things waiting for him to do. Other than that, when he left Soaring Dragon Empire, he could think of a way to save Song Lin. "Even the heavens are helping me now that Bai Jing isn't here." As his cultivation level broke through to the peak space undying level, Long Chong was very confident in his own strength. In a battle of the same level, he could even insta-kill someone. As for fighting a half-step Starry Sky ruler, that was a different matter. After all, the situation between a half-step Starry Sky ruler and a peak Starry Sky immortal was different. It would be difficult to kill a half-step Starry Sky ruler with a secret domain. Not to mention himself, even a Starry Sky ruler might not be able to do it. Only a Starry Sky ruler like Song Lin, who had mastered the power of primal chaos, might be able to kill a half-step Starry Sky ruler. Not being able to kill was one thing, sealing or sending one into reincarnation was another. Long Chong knew that with his current strength, if he fought a half-step space ruler head-on, there was a chance he could send them into reincarnation or seal them. Without Bai Jing, killing the 4-peak space undying level by Hua was simply too easy. He took a step forward. Long Chong's figure instantly vanished from his spot. In a blink of an eye, he had arrived at the First Space Empire's headquarters, a huge heaven-piercing mountain. A majestic palace towered on top of the mountain, looking very solemn. As the strongest space empire in the vast universe, the First Space Empire had absolute control here. No one dared to provoke them. Anyone who dared to provoke him would die without a burial place. This was the majesty and strength of the number 1 Starry Sky Empire. He sneered. All of a sudden, Longao suddenly released the aura on his body. The aura covered the sky and directly covered the entire hall. Bai Jing was not present, but Bai Hua and the 3 Starry Sky Eagles were in the main hall. Feeling the sudden powerful aura, the 4 were extremely shocked. They didn't know which pinnacle universe Undying dared to openly challenge the number 1 universe empire. Was he not afraid of death? With the might of the number 1 cosmic empire, not to mention a peak universe immortal, even a half-step universe ruler wouldn't dare to casually provoke them. The 4 of them could not figure out who was so daring. Filled with boundless anger, the 4 people's killing intent was like surging lightning, fiercely suppressing him. Moreover, the 4 people's figures also quickly rushed over. Under normal circumstances, 4 pinnacle universe Undyings teaming up. Ignoring strength, Just their aura alone was enough to suppress any other pinnacle universe undying. But what was the result? The four who just rushed over were shocked to discover that their combined aura was actually unable to suppress the aura released by one person. Was this real? Unbelievable. If they didn't see it with their own eyes, they wouldn't believe it even if they were beaten to death. In a blink of an eye. There was no need to talk about the speed of these four people. When these four people arrived and saw the youth in front of them, their complexion completely changed. Because they had never thought that the person who came to provoke the Empire would be their biggest enemy, Longao. How did Longao break through to the pinnacle universe undying level? It was inconceivable. Even if Longao's talent was exceptional, wasn't this cultivation speed a bit too abnormal? Looking across the vast universe, Longao's talent was probably unrivaled. When Longao was still at the pinnacle universe undying level, they already couldn't kill him. Now that Longao's cultivation level had smoothly broken through to the pinnacle universe undying level, it was even more impossible for them to deal with Longao. He felt very helpless, but even more so, he was depressed. Such a freak was really the Empire's misfortune. If Bai Jing was here, they might have a chance to kill Longao. But now, Bai Jing wasn't in the Empire. Longao, what's the meaning of this? The four were clearly afraid. They had dealt with Longao too many times. As the saying goes, a wise man knows better than to fight when the odds are against him. It wouldn't be too late to wait for Bai Jing to return. Why fight to the death with Longao now? If they were careless and fell, they wouldn't even have the chance to regret it. How could Longao not know what the four were thinking? He sneered in his heart. It turned out that the four were also afraid of death. He said mockingly, "Aren't the four of you very arrogant? As the strongest expert of the number 1 Starry Sky Empire, I'm here to challenge you today. The four of you can join forces. If you can defeat me, I, Longao, will never set foot in the number 1 Starry Sky Empire again. How about it?" If it were in the past, if Longao dared to provoke the four of them like this, the four of them wouldn't be able to bear it anymore and would definitely kill him. Even if they knew that they couldn't kill the other party, they would still force their way in. But the situation was completely different now. They were very afraid of Longao. Especially now, the more Longao acted like this, the more afraid the four of them were because they weren't fools. Longao was so arrogant that he must have full confidence. Otherwise, how could he dare to act like this? It was simply a disgrace, a great disgrace. However, a lack of forbearance in small matters would spoil great plans. If the four of them really took action, then they would fall into Longao's trap. So, in this case, they had to endure silently. Longao, Master isn't here, so we can't make the decision. How about this, when Master comes back, we'll find you. At that time, we'll fight to the death. How about it? Shameless. They had seen shameless people before, but they had never seen such shameless people. If it were in the past, the four of them would definitely join forces to deal with him. How could they choose to give up such a rare opportunity so easily? But now, seeing that his cultivation had broken through the limit of the Starry Sky Immortal Realm, the four of them were afraid. This time, Longao came to kill the four of them. How could he choose to give up so easily? He said, "You four think I'll let you go? I'll give you a chance, make your move." Chapter 2650. The faces of the four people were extremely gloomy. Longao's actions were completely overbearing. Attack? They had no confidence, especially since Longao was no longer the same as before. His cultivation base had broken through to the limit of Starry Sky Immortal Realm. Not attacking? Where would their dignity go? The four of them could be considered to have lost face to the extreme. It was simply a great humiliation. You don't dare? The four of them really didn't dare. If they did, they wouldn't be wasting their time here. Bai Hua snorted and said coldly, "Longao, don't go overboard. Our #1 Starry Sky Empire isn't to be trifled with. Ha 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 ha. Longao laughed crazily towards the sky. His laughter was filled with mockery and disdain. The four of them didn't say anything. They just looked coldly at Longao, who was laughing maniacally. Their faces were getting darker and darker. As the strongest empire in the vast universe, they had never been humiliated like this. If it was a Starry Sky ruler, they would have let it go. At the very least, he was a half-step Starry Sky ruler. However, they couldn't accept the current situation. Even if Longao was talented and his cultivation speed was faster than normal people, Longao was still a limit Starry Sky immortal realm. The current #1 Starry Sky Empire alone had 4 limit Starry Sky immortal realm expert. What kind of concept was this? If it were any other limit Starry Sky immortal realm expert, the 4 of them wouldn't be wasting their time like this. They would have attacked long ago. How could they be willing to be humiliated like this? In the end, the 4 of them were still afraid of Longao. After all, it was better to be safe than sorry. If they were unlucky and were killed by Longao, they wouldn't even have the chance to regret it. A warrior prefers death to humiliation. Longao, I'd like to see how you're going to kill me today. As the emperor of the #1 Starry Sky Empire, Bai Hua had never been humiliated like this before. The anger in his heart had reached its limit. He couldn't bear it any longer. Your Majesty, you can't. Sky Eagle's words were too late. Before the 3 eagles could react, Bai Hua's figure had already darted out. His speed was extremely fast, reaching them in the blink of an eye. In the eyes of the Starry Sky's 3 eagles, even if Longao was strong, it was impossible for him to instantly kill Bai Hua. It was precisely because of this that the 3 Starry Sky Eagles did not immediately lend a hand when they saw Bai Hua rush out. And the result? Longao sneered. The Primal Chaos Axe appeared in his right hand. Before the Primal Chaos Axe was unleashed, time began to shatter. Confinement? Had he been imprisoned? Sensing that the space around him had been completely sealed, and even time had been sealed, Bai Hua was completely shocked. He had expected Longao to be powerful, but he had still underestimated Longao. Longao, don't you dare! The 3 Starry Sky Eagles, who were just about to attack, suddenly saw the situation in front of them. They were completely shocked and panicked. Bai Hua must not die. But you have to know, Bai Hua wasn't just the emperor of the #1 Universe Empire, he was also a pinnacle universe undying. Even the #1 Universe Empire couldn't afford to lose him. At this moment, the 3 Starry Sky Eagles were very afraid, especially when their master wasn't around. If anything happened to Bai Hua, they really didn't know how to explain it to their master. When Longao was just a universe undying, he was already able to kill Pinnacle Universe Undying from the 3rd to 9th Universe Empire. No wonder Longao dared to be so arrogant. He had the confidence to back it up. However, it was too late to regret now. Nothing must happen to Bai Hua. If it was the previous Longao, with the 4 of them working together, how could he kill Bai Hua? However, the situation now was completely different. As Longao's cultivation broke through to the Pinnacle Universe Undying level, his strength wasn't as simple as 1 + 1. With his current strength, even killing a Pinnacle Universe Undying would require a lot of calculations. He didn't care about the 3 Starry Sky Eagles. He chose to ignore them. Longao wielded the Primal Chaos Axe and fiercely slashed at Bai Hua. First, he was imprisoned. Now, Bai Hua was suffering unspeakable bitterness. He didn't want to fight force with force, but the situation was beyond his control. He could only endure it with his scalp. However, in Bai Hua's eyes, Longao couldn't kill him in the shortest amount of time. If Longao broke through to the half-step Universe Dominator level, it would be a different story. Longao, if you want to kill me, let's see how strong you are. He didn't believe it at all. Longao didn't say anything. The Primal Chaos Axe in his hand fiercely slashed out, and the surrounding space began to tremble violently. Rumble, 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 numerous starry sky cracks began to appear in the surroundings. As his cultivation base smoothly broke through from starry sky immortal realm to peak starry sky immortal realm, Longao's mastery of the starry sky also took a qualitative leap. The current starry sky cracks were incomparable to the previous ones. Just when Bai Hua was full of confidence and thought that he could resist Longao, the situation suddenly changed. The surrounding space cracks had already begun to crazily devour Bai Hua. From the beginning to the end, Bai Hua did not even have a chance to resist. What kind of concept was this? The three space eagles, who were rushing over, looked at the countless space cracks crazily devouring Bai Hua. The three of them seemed to be scared out of their wits. They stopped abruptly and looked at the scene in front of them in shock. What was going on? Was this for real? They couldn't believe it. At this moment, the three of them finally understood why Longao dared to provoke them so arrogantly. It turned out that he was so strong that he could even kill Bai Hua in an instant. However, Bai Hua was a genuine pinnacle universe immortal level expert. They knew very well what it meant for Longao to kill Bai Hua in an instant. Even the three of them would find it difficult to defeat Bai Hua, let alone kill him in an instant. From this, they could see how strong Longao was now. Save me, quickly save me! Bai Hua was furious. He didn't know why the three space eagles didn't save him. In just 2 seconds, Bai Hua was completely devoured by the surrounding space cracks and disappeared without a trace. Everything returned to normal as if nothing had happened. However, if the situation just now was spread out, it would definitely shake the entire vast starry sky. Longao not only broke through to the Pinnacle Universe Immortal level, but also killed a Pinnacle Universe Immortal level expert, the Emperor of the number 1 Starry Sky Empire. Such a thing had never happened in the vast starry sky. Longao could be said to have done something unprecedented. Looking at Longao in front of them, the three space eagles were completely terrified. They realized that they had underestimated Longao. The current Longao could definitely kill them in an instant. Even if he couldn't kill them in an instant, he could definitely kill them within 10 to 15 moves. Number 1 under half-step universe dominator level. Even if they didn't want to admit it, the fact was right in front of them. Chapter 2651. Longao smiled. Now it's your turn. The three's faces changed abruptly, and they retreated as if they saw something terrifying. You can come together. This was the so-called peak starry sky immortal, the so-called strongest expert of the number 1 starry sky empire. Longao's face was full of ridicule and contempt. If it was before, if Longao dared to do this, the three would have the confidence to fight. But now, with the previous lesson, the three were scared out of their wit. How could they dare to fight Longao head-on, unless their brains were flooded with water or they wanted to die? The three knew very well that their strength was about the same as Bai Hua's. If Longao could insta-kill Bai Hua, he could definitely do the same to them. It would be a lie to say that they weren't afraid. They could only endure the shame and humiliation. If they didn't, they would end up like Bai Hua, swallowed by the countless cracks in the starry sky, and their primordial spirit wouldn't even have the chance to enter reincarnation. The number 1 expert under half-step starry sky ruler, such strength wasn't just for show. In fact, the three didn't know that with Longao's current strength, not to mention insta-killing them, he could even contend against half-step starry sky rulers. Run? If they ran away like this, the three of them would lose face. On one side was face, and on the other was life. There was no doubt that the three would choose life without hesitation and give up face. Longao, you've killed Bai Hua, so we can write off our previous grudges. We can promise you that from now on, our number 1 starry sky empire will have no more grudges with you. You go your way, and we'll go our own way. How about it? Of course, they didn't want to compromise, but could they? Longao's strength was already there for all to see. Especially his cultivation speed, it was unprecedented and would never be surpassed in the future. How long did it take for Longao to break through from peak starry sky immortal to peak starry sky immortal? According to this cultivation speed, it wouldn't take long for Longao to break through from peak starry sky immortal to half-step starry sky ruler. It was common knowledge that one had to devour secret realms in order to become a half-step starry sky ruler. However, for some reason, the three of them believed that Longao could do it. It was very depressing. Under such circumstances, the three starry sky eagles had even made a decision for their master. Under the circumstances of losing Bai Hua, from now on, they were still unwilling to continue being enemies with Longao. This was a wise move. He was very surprised. Longao had never thought that the three starry sky eagles in front of him would suddenly act like this. Giving up just like that? If it were anyone else, even if they could firmly suppress the number one starry sky empire, the No. 1 starry sky empire was still the most powerful empire in the vast universe. Not only that, Bai Jing, the ancestor of the number 1 starry sky empire, was a powerful half-step starry sky ruler. Provoking such an expert was akin to courting death. But what about Longao? If Longao chose to give up, then he wouldn't be Longao. Longao looked at the three eagles in front of him and smiled. If it was the previous me, would you still be like this? Of course not. Although the three didn't say anything, their meaning was clear. In the vast starry sky, no matter what, strength speaks. If you have strength, everyone will be afraid of you, but if you don't have strength, then sorry, no matter where you go, you will be beaten. This was a very cruel reality. Seeing the three starry sky eagles not speaking, Longao didn't care in the slightest. The vast starry sky was like this, and he couldn't blame anyone else. He only knew one truth, and that was that in a situation where strength was respected, he must cut the weeds and dig up the roots to prevent future troubles. Because kindness to the enemy is the greatest cruelty to oneself. He would never do such a stupid thing. Sorry, I can't agree to your request. Cut the weeds and dig up the roots to prevent future troubles. Cut the weeds and dig up the roots to prevent future troubles. These simple words had already expressed Longao's meaning. The three weren't surprised at all, because they had already guessed that this would be the result. Because if it were them, they would also choose to cut the weeds and dig up the roots, not giving their enemy any chance to breathe. No matter what, the current Longao was firmly suppressing them with his strength, and this was something that couldn't be erased. Even if they didn't want to believe it, the truth was the truth, and this was something that couldn't be changed. Earth Eagle thought for a while, and said with an ugly expression, Longao, we have to admit that with your current strength, not to mention one-on-one, even if the three of us joined forces, we wouldn't be your opponent. Longao didn't speak and just stood there quietly. Earth Eagle sighed helplessly in his heart. Things had already developed to this point, and they could only seek a proper solution. Even if they lost Bai Hua and lost face, they still didn't want to completely fall out with Longao under such circumstances. It was better to avoid such a terrifying enemy. Thinking of this, Earth Eagle didn't continue to hesitate and continued, Longao, no matter what kind of grudge we had, let's write it off. The three of us can make a blood oath here, that from now on, as long as you and the Soaring Dragon Empire are around, we, the number 1 starry sky empire, will choose to avoid it. What do you think? They had to admit that the 3 starry sky eagles had already made the biggest concession. If it was in the past, it would have been almost impossible. In the end, it was Longao who killed Bai Hua and showed his powerful strength that deeply shocked the 3 of them. Under such circumstances, the 3 of them had no choice but to choose to compromise, and it was the biggest compromise they could make. However, they chose to avoid Longao and the Soaring Dragon Empire. This in itself already told Longao that they were afraid of him, and they begged him to let them go. How could Longao not know what the three of them were thinking? In fact, he was a little surprised, because he didn't expect the other party to make such a big compromise. However, under such circumstances, he must not be soft-hearted and let the tiger return to the mountain. Otherwise, once the tiger returned to the mountain, there would be endless trouble in the future. This was something that Longao didn't want to see. He didn't care, with his current strength, even if Bai Jing came, he could still ignore her. However, the empire behind him was a completely different concept. If the three starry sky eagles went back on their words and didn't deal with him, they would deal with the soaring dragon empire instead. At that time, he wouldn't even have the chance to regret. It was precisely because of this. He absolutely couldn't do anything that he would regret. Therefore, the concession made by the three starry sky eagles was simply worthless to him. It was better to cut the weeds and eliminate the roots to prevent future troubles. Chapter 26:52. What would Longao choose? The three eagles were very nervous, not knowing if Longao would agree to their compromise. If he agreed, then everything would be fine. If he didn't, then the three of them, including the empire, would probably suffer. At this moment, the three starry sky eagles were extremely depressed. Because they were very depressed. Not only were they not as strong as Longao, but their speed was also far behind Longao's. It was because of this. That was why the three of them made such a big concession. Otherwise, it wouldn't be the current result. All of a sudden, Longao smiled, looking at the three eagles in front of him, and said indifferently, "Sorry, I'm here to cut the weeds and dig up the roots, absolutely not leaving anyone alive." Not leaving anyone alive? Cut the weeds and dig up the roots? How could the three of them not know what Longao meant? Longao's meaning was very simple. That was, not only would he kill them, but he would also kill everyone in the first Starry Sky Empire, and not leave anyone alive. This kind of humiliation had already reached the point where it could not be tolerated. Could it be that they still have to endure it? This time, without waiting for the three of them to continue, Longao had already made his move. Again, he came here to cut the weeds and dig up the root. Otherwise, why would he have to do this? It was still the same move. First, he imprisoned the three of them, then with the help of the chaotic axe, he continuously slashed at the three of them, one after another, continuously. It was still the same sentence. If it was the previous Longao, not to mention imprisoning the three of them at the same time, even imprisoning one of them would be a bit of a fool's dream, something that was unlikely to happen. But the situation now was completely different. Longao's cultivation had smoothly broken through from the Starry Sky Immortal Realm to the limit of the Starry Sky Immortal Realm. Under the situation of his strength skyrocketing, he imprisoned the three of them at the same time. 1 against 3. In the vast starry sky, this was the first time such a thing had happened. With the previous example, the three eagles dared not be the slightest bit careless. However, the three eagles were still very confident. 1 against 1 and 3 against Longao were two completely different concepts. They were not at the same level at all. Longao might be able to imprison Bai Hua, but he might not be able to imprison all three of them at the same time. But what was the result? Sensing that the surrounding space and time had all been sealed, regardless of whether it was the sky eagle, the earth eagle, or the human eagle, they were all completely astonished. They really couldn't figure out how Longao was able to imprison the three of them at the same time by himself. It was unbelievable. If not for the fact that he had experienced it for himself, he would have found it hard to believe. The three from the Starry Sky sect did not dare to hesitate in the slightest, because they had already learned their lesson. If they said they were not afraid, then they would be lying. After Bai Hua was imprisoned by Longao, he didn't even have a chance to resist. He was swallowed by the space crack released by Longao and disappeared without a trace. Thinking about it was one thing, but actually encountering it was another. The 3 starry sky eagles were very afraid that the 3 of them would follow in by Hua's footstep. Of course, Longao knew what the 3 starry sky eagles were thinking. He also knew the urgency of the matter. Although he had the confidence to kill the 3 starry sky eagles, he still had to end the battle quickly in this situation. He couldn't afford the slightest neglect. Even if he couldn't kill them instantly, he had to kill the 3 starry sky eagles as quickly as possible. Longao's speed soared to the extreme, and the more so, the more scared the 3 starry sky eagles were because they already felt despair. No matter how much they thought about it, they still didn't expect Longao's strength to be so powerful. If they had known earlier, they would have taken advantage of Longao's distraction to leave. But it was too late to regret now. Even the 3 starry sky eagles were very afraid of death. They joined forces and frantically attacked the shackles around them, hoping to break the shackles and leave as soon as possible. But what was the result? After dozens of consecutive axe strikes, countless space cracks began to appear around them, constantly roaring and roaring. Sensing the roars of the countless space cracks around them, the faces of the 3 starry sky eagles turned gloomy to the extreme. Were the 3 of them really going to die here? Just when the 3 starry sky eagles felt despair and thought that the 3 of them were going to die, the situation suddenly changed. Suddenly, a roar came from the distance, approaching at an extremely fast speed. In the blink of an eye, it was none other than the ancestor of the number 1 Starry Sky Empire and a half-step Starry Sky ruler, Bai Jing. Seeing that Longao was killing his 3 disciples, Bai Jing was furious to the extreme. He didn't say any more nonsense and rushed over as fast as he could because he was very clear in his heart that the grudge between him and Longao had reached the point where it would not end until one of them was dead. No matter how much nonsense he said, it was useless. It was better to be practical. "Master, save us!" The 3 starry sky eagles, who felt despair, looked at their master's sudden appearance in the distance as if they had found a life-saving straw. They were pleasantly surprised and frantically attacked the space cracks and shackles around them because they knew that as long as the 3 of them could hold on for a few seconds, once their master arrived, the 3 of them would be saved. They had to hold on. They would never give up. How could Longao not know what the 3 starry sky eagles were thinking? He didn't care at all because he had already predicted that Bai Jing would come back. Otherwise, he would have attacked long ago instead of wasting time talking nonsense with the 3 starry sky eagles. He wanted to kill the 3 starry sky eagles right under Bai Jing's nose and infuriate him. As his cultivation base broke through from the Starry Sky Immortal Realm to the Peak Starry Sky Immortal Realm, Longao wanted to test his current strength. It was more than enough to instantly kill a Peak Starry Sky Immortal Realm expert. Even if he couldn't instantly kill 3 Peak Starry Sky Immortal Realm experts, with his current strength, he could do it in the shortest time possible. Longao only wanted to test one thing, and that was to fight a half-step Starry Sky ruler. He wanted to see if he could contend against a half-step Starry Sky ruler. "You don't have the chance anymore. Longao, you can't kill us, you can't kill us. Master won't let you go." Regardless of how the 3 starry sky eagles roared, Longao chose to ignore them. The surrounding space cracks began to madly devour the 3 starry sky eagles at an extremely fast speed. The devouring speed of the space cracks far surpassed the speed of Bai Jing's arrival. It was easy to imagine what the result would be. Bai Jing arrived in the blink of an eye, but his 3 disciples had already been devoured by the space cracks and disappeared without a trace. He stared at Longao in front of him and suddenly sneered. His laughter was filled with endless eeriness. He said coldly, "Longao, you're very good. You're very good. I like you very much. I hope you'll show me your full strength later." Chapter 2653. What did this mean? Longao wasn't a fool. Of course, he could hear the anger in Bai Jing's words. He didn't care. Choosing to ignore it, Longao said with a smile, Bai Jing, I don't need to say more about the grudge between us. Now let's see if you can kill me with your strength. Hearing Longao's words, Bai Jing was very surprised. Fearless? Could it be that Longao had something to rely on? He knew very well that Longao dared to be so arrogant because he had the ability to kill 3 of his disciples in seconds. This in itself showed how powerful the opponent was. The more Longao acted like this, the more Bai Jing felt unsure. It was a bit ridiculous, even if Longao was talented and cultivated faster than ordinary people. However, Longao was now a peak Starry Sky immortal, while he was a genuine half-step Starry Sky ruler. The gap between the two was huge. They weren't on the same level. It wasn't the same concept. Longao wanted to fight against him? It was a fool's dream. Thinking of this, Bai Jing said coldly, Longao, you can leave unscrupulously with the Starry Sky God tool in your hand. If you have the ability, fight with me. I want to see how strong you are after breaking through the peak Starry Sky immortal. He knew the other party would say this. It was obviously a provocation. If it was before, Longao wouldn't have agreed. After all, it was almost impossible for a Starry Sky immortal to fight against a half-step Starry Sky ruler. Not to mention a Starry Sky immortal, even a peak Starry Sky immortal couldn't fight against a half-step Starry Sky ruler. However, Longao wasn't worried at all. He was very confident in his strength. Bai Jing, you don't need to provoke me. Since I dared to come this time, I didn't expect to rely on the Starry Sky God tool. Let's fight. I also want to see how strong you are. What did Longao mean? Looking at the young man in front of him, Bai Jing seemed a little confused. He didn't expect Longao to dare to fight him without the help of the Starry Sky God tool. Was Longao out of his mind? Until now, Bai Jing still couldn't believe that Longao could fight against him with his current strength. It wasn't that he didn't believe it, but that no matter who it was, they wouldn't believe it. Kill. Within the Empire, the 4 Pinnacle Universe Undyings had all been killed. Such a loss, if they didn't take revenge, it would truly be a waste. Among the 9 great universe empires, other than the Second Empire which still had 2 Pinnacle Universe Undyings, the other 8 empires didn't have any Pinnacle Universe Undyings. For the 8 great Starry Sky empires, this was a great humiliation. And the person who brought them such humiliation was only a Pinnacle Universe Undying. He was only a Universe Undying before. It was unbelievable. He smiled. Good, good, good. In the next second, Bai Jing's figure had already dashed out. This time, he did not continue to talk nonsense. It was useless to say any more nonsense. They still had to see who was the stronger one. He took it head-on. From the beginning to the end, Longao had never thought of avoiding the battle. With the Chaos Axe in his hand, he went straight for the battle. In the blink of an eye, the 2 warriors had already engaged in a fierce battle. One was a Pinnacle Universe Undying, the other a half-space ruler. It could be said that in the entire vast universe, other than the space rulers, these 2 were the strongest beings. The 2 exchanged blows, and in the blink of an eye, they had already exchanged tens of blows. Under normal circumstances, even if Bai Jing couldn't kill Longao, he would at least be able to slowly push back Longao. However, the result? Such a result was hard for Bai Jing to accept, because he had already guessed that Longao's strength had definitely increased. After all, to be able to instantly kill his 3 disciples, his strength wasn't just for show. However, he didn't expect Longao's strength to be this strong. Unbelievable. Even so, Bai Jing didn't retreat at all. Now that he had already lost 4 Pinnacle Universe Undyings, he couldn't take this lying down. Because of this, Longao had to die. Bai Jing's attacks were getting fiercer and fiercer. His speed soared to the extreme. One move after another, It was as though he could topple mountains and overturn seas. One had to admit that a half-space ruler was indeed a half-space ruler. His strength wasn't for show. Bai Jing was very unhappy. He originally thought that after breaking through to the pinnacle universe undyings, he could contend against Bai Jing and the others. However, he didn't expect that killing a half-space ruler was still a pipe dream. Longao had a rough understanding of the difference in strength between him and Bai Jing. He couldn't kill Bai Jing, and Bai Jing couldn't kill him either. In other words, his current strength was about the same as Bai Jing's. Longao knew this, and so did Bai Jing. Because of this, Bai Jing was completely stunned. No wonder Longao could instantly kill the 3 space eagles. It turned out that his strength had already increased to the same level as his. However, Longao was only a pinnacle universe undyings, and his strength was already enough to contend with him. If Longao's cultivation improved further, from the pinnacle universe undyings to the half-space ruler, wouldn't he surpass him? This was something Bai Jing didn't want to see, but he was powerless to do so now. After swinging his axe, Longao and Bai Jing both stopped and laughed towards the sky. Longao laughed and said, "Bai Jing, I believe you know the situation better than I do. I'll let you go today, but I'll definitely kill you in the future." Ha 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 ha. As the laughter spread, Longao turned and left. In a short while, his figure disappeared without a trace. If it was before, how could Bai Jing not make a move to stop Longao and let him leave? But now, from the beginning to the end, Bai Jing did not make a move to stop him. In the end, she still thought that with his current strength, it was no longer enough to deal with Longao. Even if he didn't want to admit it, the truth was in front of his eyes. He couldn't do anything about it. He felt helpless. He had lost 4 pinnacle universe undyings, yet he couldn't do anything about it. Let's not talk about what would happen to his reputation if word got out. Just this test alone was impossible to pass, and the main culprit was Longao, who had just left. "Longao, I'll definitely kill you." Bai Jing was scared. Still, the current Longao was only a pinnacle universe undyings, and his strength was enough to contend with him. In the future, if Longao was lucky enough to devour secret realms and become a half-space ruler, he might not be a match for Longao. If that happened, he would be in a passive position. Chapter 2654. The vast space was completely shaken. The reason was simple. The news of Longao instantly killing 4 pinnacle universe undyings from the number 1 universe empire, and fighting Bai Jing to a draw, had already spread throughout the vast universe. Was this true? No one believed it because no one could figure it out. Even if Longao's talent was extraordinary, and his cultivation base had smoothly broken through the limit of the starry sky immortal realm in a very short time, it was still not enough to contend against a half-step starry sky ruler. A pinnacle space undying and a half-space ruler were 2 completely different existences. Unbelievable. There were still many who didn't want to believe it. This matter was truly a little inconceivable. The vast space was filled with discussions. No one knew if what happened in the first universe empire was true or not. The other 8 great universe empires also received the news, including the second universe empire. The other empires were only shocked for a short while. As for the second universe empire, it was a different concept. Because of the current 9 great universe empires, other than the second universe empire, the other 8 empires all had their pinnacle space undyings all killed. Would Longao let the second universe empire go? There was no doubt about it. It would be a lie to say they weren't worried. If it was the Longao of the past, the second universe empire wouldn't be worried at all. Only now, the situation was completely different. Longao was no longer the same as before. His strength had increased to the point where he could fight a half-space ruler. Since that was so, Longao could instantly kill Bai Hua and the other 3, then he could also instantly kill the two pinnacle space undyings of the Second Universe Empire. This was without a doubt what one feared really happened. Lin Han and Wang Tao were pinnacle space undyings of the Second Universe Empire. They had a huge grudge against Longao. Longao had already killed the pinnacle space undyings of the other universe empires. How could he easily give up on killing Lin Han and Wang Tao? Since then, the 10 pinnacle space undyings of the 9 great universe empires had all been killed. Not a single one was left alive. What kind of concept was this? Ever since the 9 great universe empires were established, no one had been able to do this. Longao could be said to be the first in history. As the 2 pinnacle space undyings of the Second Universe Empire were killed, the vast space once again shook. Longao had become the most dazzling person in the vast universe. His fame had even surpassed that of the Starry Sky ruler. Tianwu Continent, Outer Sea. In the Crystal Palace, Master God Diviner, Yi Dugu, Blood Devil, Dragon Annihilation, and Tao of the Heavens were all sitting there. They knew what Longao had done, and they were all shocked. If it were anyone else, they would have run away in such a situation. Except for Longao. This madman who was not afraid of anything was really unfathomable. What do you three think of this matter? Of course, Blood Devil and the other 2 knew what Master Clairvoyant meant. Thinking about it, Dragon Annihilation said, "We know what you mean, Clairvoyant Master, but according to my guess, Longao wouldn't be so bold. He has a deep grudge with the 9 great cosmic empires, so it's reasonable for him to kill their peak cosmic immortals." For some reason, Master God Diviner felt that something was amiss. As Longao's cultivation base grew higher and higher, Master God Diviner realized that he was finding it harder and harder to understand Longao. He was very afraid. As for Longao's innate talent and cultivation speed, Master God Diviner was becoming more and more afraid. The 3 of you, Longao is too unpredictable. If what I said is true, then this matter will be troublesome. When Longao refines the Primal Chaos Tablet and becomes the Starry Sky ruler, it will be very difficult for the 5 of us to suppress Longao. But it had to be known. Right now, Longao was only a peak cosmic immortal. Not only could he instantly kill a peak cosmic immortal, but he could also fight a half-step cosmic immortal to a draw. This in itself was somewhat impossible. Master God Diviner was very worried. If Longao really became the Starry Sky ruler, he was afraid that he wouldn't be a match for Longao. Blood Devil and the other 2 were also a little afraid of Longao. Dragon Annihilation continued, "Longao has a cosmic space artifact. We can kill him directly, of course, but we're afraid that Longao will hide in his cosmic space artifact. In that case, even we won't be able to do anything." Whether it was Master God Diviner, Blood Devil, or the others, they were extremely depressed. This was also the biggest problem. They really couldn't figure out how in the vast universe there could be such a heaven-defying cosmic space artifact that could resist their aura lock. They also couldn't figure out how Longao had obtained it. We have to devise a plan. Killing Longao directly is a bit impossible. Devise a plan? It was easier said than done. It was easy to think about, but it was very difficult to actually do it. Longao was no fool. How could he be so easily fooled? How could Master God Diviner not know what the 3 of them were thinking? Smiling, Master God Diviner said, "The 3 of you, I've already come up with an excellent plan. If nothing unexpected happens, it should be able to deal with Longao. This time, even if we can't kill Longao, we can still suppress him." In the past, Master God Diviner would have been very afraid of the white-robed girl. After all, she was very strong. Last time, if it hadn't been for the white-robed girl, Longao wouldn't have been able to break out of the seal. Master God Diviner, how do you plan to deal with Longao? Under the circumstances, Master God Diviner didn't hide anything. He explained his plan in detail. After listening to him, the three of them nodded, agreeing that it was a feasible plan. Master God Diviner, there's something I don't understand. Please tell us the truth. You suppressed Longao before. How did Longao break out of the seal? Given how strong Master God Diviner was, they didn't believe that Longao could have escaped from his suppression. Most likely, no one in the entire starry sky knew the truth. Master God Diviner was strong, and no matter how heaven-defying Longao was, there was no way he could have broken out of the seal so easily. Master God Diviner didn't hide anything. He explained how the white-robed girl had come to help Longao. So that was how it was. Blood Devil and the others were shocked. Never in their wildest dreams could they have imagined that the person who had helped Longao was the white-robed girl. If it had been anyone else, it wouldn't have been a big deal. But this girl was different. Even if they joined forces, they might not have been a match for her, let alone Master God Diviner. After all, when she had first arrived in the starry sky, she had casually used a single move to defeat the #1 expert in the starry sky, Master God Diviner. Chapter 2655. There was no need to say more about the girl's strength. Blood Devil and the other two didn't know what had happened on Jianling Mountain. Tiandao said, Master Clairvoyant, forgive me for being blunt, but even if we succeed in suppressing Longao this time, if the girl in white continues to help, I'm afraid we won't succeed. Fighting against the girl in white was like going crazy. The girl in white had mastered the power of primal chaos. Compared to her, they weren't even on the same level. Even if it was 5 against 1, they didn't have the slightest confidence. If they succeeded in suppressing Longao and the girl in white continued to help, wouldn't all their efforts be for naught? How could Master Clairvoyant not know what the three were thinking? In the past, Master Clairvoyant definitely wouldn't have casually revealed the secret of Jianling Mountain. But now, the situation was completely different. I have a secret to tell you. You have to swear a blood oath that no matter what happens, you won't tell anyone. What did that mean? The three were very surprised because they didn't know what kind of secret it was that would make them swear such a serious blood oath. But they also knew that since Master Clairvoyant attached such importance to it, the secret couldn't be simple. Without the slightest hesitation, Blood Devil and the other two swore a blood oath. Jianling Mountain. Master Clairvoyant roughly explained the secret of Jianling Mountain. After hearing it, the three were completely stunned. Master Clairvoyant, now is the best time to deal with Longao. If we can control the girl in white, we might be able to obtain the power of primal chaos. Blood Devil and the other two certainly knew the importance of the secret of Jianling Mountain, but with their current strength, it seemed they still couldn't intervene. It was better to avoid unnecessary trouble. That's what I was thinking. After successfully killing all the peak universe immortals of the 9 great starry sky empires, Longao was still a little unsatisfied. He prepared to continue killing the 9 half-step universe rulers of the 9 great starry sky empires. Even if he knew he couldn't kill a half-step universe ruler with his current strength, he wouldn't know if he could succeed without trying. The first plane. First starry sky empire, inside the Grand Hall. The 9 half-step star rulers, Bai Jing, Zhu Geming, Gongsun He, Xiafeng, Zhou Bolai, Lu Mu, Kong Xiao, Fang Buping, and Wei Bujing, were all gathered in the hall. Everyone, what do you think of this matter? Bai Jing was furious. The #1 starry sky empire used to be the most powerful empire in the vast starry sky empire. However, after Longao's intervention, the #1 starry sky empire no longer had the slightest advantage. So what if he was angry? Longao's strength was there for all to see. As Longao's cultivation base broke through the limits of the starry sky immortal realm, even he had no way to suppress Longao. If he hadn't personally experienced the battle with Longao, he wouldn't have believed it even if he was beaten to death. 8 peak universe undyings. They looked at each other and saw traces of helplessness and anger in each other's eyes. He felt even more helpless. Bai Jing, according to what you said, although Longao is only a peak universe immortal realm, he can fight you to a draw. Bai Jing's face turned very gloomy at the mention of this matter. A puny peak universe immortal realm expert could fight him to a draw. Wasn't this a great humiliation? If that's the case, then Longao's strength is already very strong. Unless the 9 of us join forces, we won't be able to defeat him. At this point, Gongsun he didn't continue, but the meaning in his words was very clear. It wasn't impossible for the 9 of them to join forces, but it seemed a little ridiculous for 9 of them to join forces all the time. Not to mention face, the 9 of them couldn't just do nothing to deal with Longao. Was it possible for them to stay together no matter where they went? Besides this method, is there no other way? Not at the moment. At this time, Zhuge Ming said, Longao's own strength is already able to compete with us. Moreover, he has the sky-defying divine weapon in his hand. In this case, even if we join forces, we may not be able to deal with Longao. Heaven-defying space god weapon, this was Longao's biggest reliance. It was a little impossible to lock onto Longao's heaven-defying space god weapon. The 9 of them were very afraid, but they didn't have the slightest method. What should they do? For a moment, the 9 of them didn't speak at all, and the hall fell into silence. Time passed by bit by bit. About an hour later, Gongsun he said angrily, Everyone, we've all seen Longao's current situation. If we let him develop, no one knows how far he'll go. To prevent future trouble, we have to get rid of him as soon as possible. Getting rid of him as soon as possible. To get rid of him was easy to say, but it was difficult to do. Zhuge Ming said helplessly, Gongsun he, it's easy to say, but it's difficult to kill Longao. Before we kill Longao, we have to think of a way to control the heaven-defying space god weapon in Longao's hand. Let's not talk about controlling the heaven-defying space god weapon in Longao's hand, we don't even know if we can lock onto it. At this moment, Fang Buping said, Everyone, although it's difficult for us to control the heaven-defying space god weapon in Longao's hand and kill Longao, if we join forces and use the 9 secret realms, I don't believe we can't kill Longao. At the mention of the 9 secret realms, the other 8 people's faces changed completely. Bai Jing said helplessly, Apart from the 9 of us, I'm afraid even the other rulers of the starry sky don't know about the secret of the 9 secret realms. The secret of the 9 secret realms had always been the 9 people's biggest secret. Apart from the 9 of them, no one else in the vast starry sky knew about it. Moreover, the 9 of them had an agreement that no matter what happened, no matter when, they would not reveal the secret. Because they knew very well what it would mean if the 12 rulers of the starry sky knew about it. The other 8 people understood Bai Jing's meaning. The 8 of you should know what will happen to us if the rulers of the starry sky know about this. The 8 people nodded, but Zhuge Ming said, Bai Jing, we all know what you mean, but if we don't join forces and use the secret realms, we won't be able to kill Longao. According to Longao's talent and cultivation speed, none of us know when Longao's strength will surpass ours. When that time comes, we won't even have a chance to regret. Chapter 2656. On one side was the secret of the secret realm, and on the other was killing Longao. How should they choose? If they made the wrong choice, then they would be on the wrong side of the road. They gritted their teeth. The 8 said at the same time, We're willing to try. Bai Jing nodded. The secret realm that the 9 of us obtained contained great power, but we forcibly divided it into 9 pieces. If we combine them again, Longao will die without a doubt. Hearing this, the 8 of them laughed. They had full confidence in the power of their respective secret realms. If the 9 of them worked together and used the secret realm's power, killing Longao would be a piece of cake. Remember, We have to be very, very careful when we use the secret realm's power. The 8 nodded in agreement. It was still the same sentence. The secret of the secret realm could not be leaked, especially to star rulers. If it was leaked, the consequences would be unimaginable. Master God Diviner and the other 8 wanted to deal with Longao. Whether it was Master God Diviner or Bai Jing, they were all at the peak of the martial path. But they were preparing to deal with one person. This was a shameless thing to do. Longao was in the first plane. As the saying goes, the most dangerous place is the safest place. When Longao stepped into the first plane, Bai Jing and the other 8 would never have guessed that Longao would make such a move. A half-step star ruler might not be able to kill Longao, but that didn't mean 9 half-step star rulers working together couldn't do the same to Longao. Have you heard? The ancestors of the 8 great star empires have all gathered in the first star empire to discuss how to deal with Longao. It's a bit unbelievable. Longao is indeed a dragon among men. He actually fought against 9 great starry sky empires alone, and even killed all the pinnacle starry sky immortals. It's unbelievable. By now, the news of Longao killing so many peak star immortals had spread to every corner of the vast universe. The first plane was no exception. There was a lot of discussion in the first plane about Longao killing so many peak star immortals and 9 half-step star rulers working together to deal with Longao. A genius. The speed of Longao's rise was a bit too fast. Longao sat quietly in the tea house, listening to the discussions around him. 9 people working together was indeed a bit troublesome. The 9 of them weren't as fearsome as peak starry sky immortals. All 9 of them were genuine half-step starry sky rulers. If they joined forces, no one under starry sky ruler would be a match for them. There was no doubt about that. It would be a lie to say that he wasn't afraid. They were defeated one by one. Longao knew very well that it was almost impossible for him to fight against 9 half-step starry sky rulers alone. If they were to be defeated one by one, then it would be a completely different concept. Look! Longao had also sensed it. 9 half-step starry sky rulers rushed out of the first positional plane, and without any hesitation, they rushed towards the southeast. There were no secret. What did these 9 people mean? Longao got up and used time teleportation to move quickly. As his cultivation base broke through from peak star immortal to peak star immortal, his speed changed dramatically. However, Longao didn't overtake the 9 people. Instead, he kept a certain distance. Longao was also very curious. He didn't know where the 9 half-step star rulers were going. Under normal circumstances, the 9 half-step star rulers should be doing everything they could to deal with him, but they couldn't leave the first plane. Was there something fishy? The 9 half-step star rulers moved quickly. About half an hour later, the 9 entered an uninhabited area. In other words, there wasn't a single starry sky empire around. Longao, who was following behind, became more and more curious. He didn't know what the 9 people meant. Could it be that they could deal with him by doing this? That was a joke. The 9 people didn't continue to fly. Looking around, Bai Jing said, "There's no one here all year round. If we use the secret realm here, almost no one will know. The secret realm won't be leaked." Secret realm? Hearing Bai Jing's words, Longao was very curious. He didn't know why the 9 people were so cautious. Everyone in the vast starry sky knew about the 9 people devouring the secret realm. Why did they have to be so secretive? It was a bit puzzling. Bai Jing, even if we can use the secret realm, no one will know. However, it's a bit impossible for us to lure Longao here. This was an extremely difficult task. Bai Jing thought for a while and said, "Everyone, don't worry. Longao's cultivation base has smoothly broken through to peak star immortal. He's arrogant. If the 9 of us work together, Longao will have scruples and won't come. However, it doesn't mean that one of us can't succeed." The other 8 people nodded in agreement. Everyone, except for the first time when we obtained the secret realm, we haven't used the power of the secret realm for a second time in countless years. Why don't we try it now? What do you think? The 9 people had personally experienced the power of the secret realm when they used it for the first time. However, after so many years, they had forgotten about the power of the secret realm. The 9 people didn't have the slightest problem. They separated and formed a circle, looking at each other. In the next second, the 9 people released their own secret realms. The 9 secret realms emitted different lights: red, orange, yellow, green, cyan, blue, purple, black, and white lights intertwined to form a huge spider web, exuding a terrifying aura. Not far away, Longao sensed the terrifying aura released by the net of 9 colors, and his face changed. He finally knew why the 9 of them were so confident in dealing with him. It turned out that the secret realms that the 9 of them possessed, when combined together, were actually so powerful. Longao knew very well that although he could contend against a half-step star dominator with his strength, it was impossible for him to fight against 9 people at once, especially under such circumstances. If he was trapped in the 9 secret realms, he was afraid that he would die 9 times out of 10. However, Longao didn't lose his confidence in the slightest because the 9 of them seemed to be joining hands now. Who knew what they were thinking in their hearts? Each of them had their own ulterior motives. If it wasn't for him, it would be difficult for the 9 of them to come together. As long as he didn't appear, the 9 people couldn't stay together. As long as they separated, he would find a way to deal with them one by one. After all, with his strength, he could contend against a half-step star dominator. As long as he was lucky, he might be able to kill a half-step star dominator. Longao didn't continue to wait, because he knew that the 9 people wouldn't separate for the time being. There was no point in him staying. Chapter 2657. Enemies were bound to meet on a narrow road. After leaving the first plane, Longao inadvertently met 3 acquaintances. He found it funny. Originally, he planned to look for the 3 of them, but he didn't expect to run into them before he even started looking. Longao immediately followed, and did not hide his aura at all. Because of this, Gangmu, Yichong, and Jin Chen instantly noticed Longao's figure, and were shocked because the 3 of them stopped chasing after Longao. Longao, long time no see. How have you been? Feeling the aura released by Longao in front of them, the 3 of them were deeply shocked again. Longao's cultivation had broken through to the limit of starry sky, immortal realm. How long had it been? Longao's strength couldn't be measured by common sense. Let alone now. He sneered. Haven't you been chasing after me? I'm here now. Why don't you make a move? Make a move? They didn't know why, but looking at Longao in front of them, the 3 of them had an intuition that even if they joined forces, they might not be a match for him. The 3 of them trusted their intuition very much, so under such circumstances, how could they make a move easily? Jin Chen smiled bitterly and said helplessly, Longao, straightforward people don't resort to insinuations. You were weak before, so we definitely chased after you. But your cultivation has broken through to the limit of starry sky, immortal realm. The 3 of us believe that even if we join forces, we won't be a match for you. So, from now on, we won't chase after you anymore. We're willing to bury the hatchet with you. Hearing Jin Chen's words, Longao seemed surprised. Because Longao never thought that Jin Chen and the other 2 would be so frank. But the more they were like this, the more he had other thoughts in his mind. He liked their characters very much. After all, in the vast starry sky, there were no eternal enemies, and no eternal friends. The 3 of you, do you have anywhere to go? The 3 of them were very curious. They did not know what Longao meant by asking such a question. In the beginning, the 3 of them sensed that Longao's cultivation had smoothly broken through the starry sky, immortal realm limit. They were indeed a little afraid of Longao. Once they started fighting, they were afraid that they would lose more than they would win. They might even lose their lives. But now, the three of them didn't have much to worry about. After all, things had already happened. At worst, they would die. I don't have anywhere to go at the moment. What's up? As expected. The three of you, we were enemies before, but in this vast starry sky, there are no eternal enemies or eternal friends. What do you think? He still didn't know what Longao meant. However, the three of them still nodded in agreement. Longao, if you have something to say, just say it. There's no need for this. All right. Longao made an inviting gesture, and the four of them headed toward the nearest plain. As for Longao killing all the pinnacle universe undyings of the 9 great universe empires, the three of them already knew. This was the real reason why the three of them didn't want to fight Longao. If it was before, the three of them would have already attacked. After all, the three of them joined forces, and their strength couldn't be underestimated. In the plain. Until now, the three of them still didn't know what Longao meant. After all, there were still grudges between them. It was already good enough that he didn't fight. The three of you, the grudges between us end here. And I would like to invite the three of you to my soaring dragon empire, and become my empire's guest. What do the three of you think? Ah? The three of them were a little confused. They didn't know what Longao meant. Why would he want to rope them in for no reason? It was already good enough that the three of them and Longao were no longer enemies, let alone entering the soaring dragon empire and becoming the empire's guest. It was a little ridiculous. If it were others, they would definitely not agree. However, the three of them didn't answer immediately. Longao, we are very curious. Even if the three of us are willing to join the soaring dragon empire and become your empire's guest, aren't you worried that we will betray you and the empire? It would be a lie to say that he wasn't worried. After all, the soaring dragon empire was Longao's bottom line. He couldn't let anything happen to it. However, Longao was very assured about the three of them. He trusted his intuition very much. Longao smiled. The three of you, whether you believe me or not, depends on me. I will only say one thing. If the three of you join my soaring dragon empire, then from now on, as long as I, Longao, can do it, I will definitely not hide it. The three of them didn't answer immediately. Instead, they looked at each other. You look at me, I look at you. They seemed to be communicating with spiritual sense. Longao wasn't in a hurry. He waited quietly. Time passed bit by bit. About an hour later, Jin Chun and the other two raised their heads and said, Longao, we don't have the slightest doubt about your character. As for your enemies, we also don't care. At worst, we will die. We can join the Soaring Dragon Empire and become the guest of the Soaring Dragon Empire. However, we have one thing to ask of you. Longao was delighted. Of course, he knew what it meant for the three of them to join the Soaring Dragon Empire. One had to know that the three of them were genuine peak starry sky immortals. Such strength would be very useful to the Soaring Dragon Empire. Now, with the deterrence of the divine mathematician and the others, with the fall of all the peak starry sky immortals, his empire would not only have Miao Ling a half-step starry sky dominator, but also 3 peak starry sky immortals. It could definitely become the number 1 starry sky empire in the vast universe. Longao wasn't a fool. When he heard Jin Chen's words, he understood why the three of them were willing to join the empire. However, he didn't know what the three of them wanted. Longao had made up his mind. Unless the three of them made an extremely unreasonable request, he would agree to it. As long as the three of them were willing to join the Soaring Dragon Empire and become its guest. As if they could guess what Longao was thinking, the three of them naturally wouldn't make an unreasonable request. No matter what, the other party was sincere. The three of them couldn't refuse. Gang Mu thought for a moment and said, "Originally, we shouldn't have said this. However, we have already waited for countless years. We really can't wait any longer. Longao, we know your character very well. When you obtained the secret realm, you gave it to Miao Ling-er. We really admire you for this. The three of them really admired Longao for this. If they were in his shoes, they probably wouldn't have been able to do it. After all, devouring a secret domain would allow one to smoothly break through to half-step Starry Sky Dominator. However, Longao didn't devour it himself, nor did he let his people devour it. Instead, he let Miao Ling-er devour it. It was because of this that the three of them were willing to try to join the Soaring Dragon Empire. Chapter 2658. Longao didn't speak, he just listened quietly. Longao, if we join the Soaring Dragon Empire and become its guests, we hope we can become half-step universe dominators in the future. So that's how it was. Longao wasn't a fool. In just an instant, Longao already understood the meaning of the three of them. There was no problem with this. Longao smiled. The three of you, your request is both simple and difficult at the same time. I believe you should know that I can't control the secret territory. However, I can promise you that as long as I, Longao, obtain the secret territory, I will help you become half-step Starry Sky Dominators. The three of them of course knew that secret domains weren't cabbages that could be found on the street. Otherwise, there wouldn't only be a few half-step universe dominators in the vast starry sky. The three of them stood up at the same time and bowed respectfully. Greetings, Master. Longao smiled again. This time, he never expected that he would be able to convince three peak universe immortals to join the Soaring Dragon Empire and become its guests. What it meant, Longao knew better than anyone else. As for their loyalty, there was no need to say more. As the saying goes, don't use people you don't trust. Since he convinced them to become guests, he wouldn't doubt them. The three of you, I believe you already know about the grudge between me and the 9 great starry sky empires. The three of them nodded at the same time. Not just the three of them, perhaps everyone in the vast starry sky already knew about it. Not to mention the grudge between Longao and the 9 great starry sky empires, just the fact that Longao killed all the peak universe immortals of the 9 great starry sky empires by himself was enough to shake the starry sky. There was no one who did not know about it. It's just that the three of them didn't know what Longao meant by that. They had just expressed their attitude. Since they dared to join the Soaring Dragon Empire as guests, they would ignore the grudge between the 9 great starry sky empires. The three of you, of course I know about your intentions. After I killed all the peak universe immortals, the 9 half-step universe dominators won't let this go. They still didn't know what Longao meant. At this moment, Longao did not continue to hesitate. He roughly recounted what he had seen with his own eyes. The more he listened, the more shocked he became. The more he listened, the more shocked he became. Everyone knew that the reason why the 9 half-step starry sky rulers could move unhindered in the vast starry sky was because they had devoured secret realms. However, what Longao had just said was something that probably no one in the entire vast galaxy knew. It would be a lie to say that they were not shocked. Master, what do you mean? If it was just one person, or even 8 of them, I wouldn't be afraid. However, if 9 of them were to work together, and the combined power of the 9 great secret realms, even I would die without a doubt. Death was undoubtedly a big deal. Longao had completely integrated with the chaotic 9-colored lotus and achieved an endless cycle. Now, Longao had an immortal body. No matter who it was, even if 9 half-step starry sky rulers joined forces, they wouldn't be able to kill Longao. The only option was to suppress, seal, or send them into the cycle of reincarnation. However, Longao was still full of confidence. As long as 9 half-step starry sky rulers didn't join forces, he wouldn't be afraid of any half-step starry sky rulers. The three already knew what Longao meant. The 9 half-step starry sky rulers would definitely join forces to deal with Longao. If that was the case, Longao would definitely be in a passive position. What should they do? The three knew very well that since the three of them had joined the Soaring Dragon Empire, from now on, the three of them and Longao were on the same side. In that case, they didn't want anything to happen to Longao. Master, if there's anything you need, just tell us. As long as we can do it, we won't refuse in the slightest. Longao smiled and said, the three of you, the grievances between the 9 half-step starry sky rulers and me are not something you can do. As long as you enter the Empire and help me look after the Empire, that will be enough. If it were someone else, Longao would definitely be unhappy if he said so. However, the three of them weren't unhappy at all. Instead, they were pleasantly surprised, because the three of them knew very well that the more Longao acted like this, the more he treated them as his own people. Moreover, what Longao said was true. With their strength, how could they intervene in the affairs of half-step starry sky rulers? Half-step starry sky rulers, not to mention 9 half-step starry sky rulers, even one of them could easily destroy the three of them. The three of them were very clear about this. The three of them stood up at the same time. They didn't speak, but the expression on their faces said it all. Longao told the three of them the location of the Soaring Dragon Empire. The three of them didn't hesitate and immediately stood up and left. In a short while, the three of them disappeared without a trace. With 3 peak starry sky immortals overseeing the Soaring Dragon Empire, plus 2 starry sky rulers and 1 half-step starry sky ruler, such a powerful force could ignore anyone in the vast starry sky. Taking 10,000 steps back. Even if the divine mathematician could calculate the location of the Soaring Dragon Empire, it would be impossible to completely destroy the empire. In any case, Xiling and Long Chang weren't to be trifled with. Both of them were genuine starry sky immortals. Looking at the boundless starry sky in front of him, Longao was somewhat at a loss. Chapter 2659. There was only one way to break through from peak starry sky immortal to half-step starry sky ruler, and that was to devour secret realms. Other than that, there was no other way. Secret realms. Where would he find secret realms? Longao had a headache. He'd already devoured primal chaos tablets, but after so long, he still couldn't refine them, let alone become a starry sky ruler. He was helpless. Longao was almost certain that in the entire vast starry sky, whether it was secret realms or primal chaos stone tablets, there were definitely many of them. Countless years ago, during the Chaos Era, there had been thousands of starry sky rulers. What did that mean? Thousands of starry sky rulers meant thousands of primal chaos tablet. But the universe was boundless. Who knew where these so-called primal chaos tablets and secret realms had gone? Long Ming? Long Ming was the starry sky ruler of time. Now that he'd refined a primal chaos tablet, he'd become the starry sky ruler of time. Longao, long time no see. I trust you've been well. It seemed Long Ming had come to find him. Longao felt helpless. Long Ming had been his brother, but ever since he'd awakened his consciousness, they'd been estranged. They'd even gone from being brothers to enemies. Unless it was absolutely necessary, Longao didn't want to be enemies with Long Ming. But the world was unpredictable. Some things were beyond his control. Long Ming, if you have something to say, just say it. I still have things to do. Long Ming smiled. That's right. I've come to find you for something. But before that, let me tell you a secret. Master Godly Mathematician and Yi Dugu have joined forces with Blood Demon, Dragon Destroyer, and Tian Dao to deal with you. He wasn't the least bit surprised. Longao had already guessed that after Xiling and Long Chang refined primal chaos tablets and became starry sky rulers, Master Godly Mathematician would join forces with the other starry sky rulers. He just didn't know which ones. Now he knew. Longao wasn't too surprised. No matter what, he had grudges with Blood Demon, Dragon Destroyer, and Tian Dao. It made sense for them to join forces with Master Godly Mathematician. If you have something to say, just say it. Longao didn't believe Long Ming would be so kind. She was very curious as to why Long Ming had come here this time. It couldn't have been just to tell her these things. Long Ming smiled again and said, Longao, I believe you already know that the God Diviner and the others will kill you this time, so you should be careful. Longao didn't say anything. Now that we're done talking, I'll tell you why I'm here. Here comes the main topic. Longao, I hope you can help me get the primal chaos energy within the primal chaos stone steels. If you succeed, I'll help you deal with Master God Diviner and the others. What do you think? So that was the case. Longao smiled and said, Long Ming, you really think highly of me. Did you find the wrong person? He didn't know, and even if he did, he couldn't tell Long Ming. Right now, Long Ming had only refined the Chaos Tablet and become a ruler of space. It was already difficult enough to deal with. If Long Ming really did control the chaos power of the Chaos Tablet, and they turned against each other, how was he supposed to control the situation? In such a situation, Longao certainly knew what to do. Longao, others may not know what you're capable of, but that doesn't mean I don't. Let's not beat around the bush. State your conditions. As long as it's within my power, I won't refuse. Oh? Longao's face was full of surprise, but he was already used to it. It wasn't just Long Ming. Even Master God Diviner and the others couldn't wait to get their hands on the Primal Chaos Tablet. After all, a Starry Sky ruler without the Primal Chaos Tablet and a Starry Sky ruler with the Primal Chaos Tablet were two different concepts. Long Ming, you'll really agree to anything? That's right? Good. Since you're so sincere, I won't be polite. I'll help you get the chaos energy in the tablet. You just have to swear a blood oath. Long Ming didn't seem surprised at all, as if he'd already guessed that Longao would do this. Long Ming nodded in agreement. He sneered in his heart. Longao knew very well that the brotherhood between him and Long Ming had already been severed. It was impossible for them to return to the past. If he was soft-hearted, it would be cruel to himself. He couldn't be soft-hearted to his enemies. Long Ming, if you swear a blood oath that you'll not only submit to me, but also protect the Soaring Dragon Empire, then I'll help you get the chaos energy in the tablet. Long Ming's face instantly darkened. It was as ugly as it could get. He'd already predicted that Longao would make an outrageous request, but he'd never imagined that Longao would make such a request. This was simply going too far. He snorted coldly. Longao, aren't you going too far? Even if Long Ming was a fool, it was impossible for him not to know why Longao was doing this. If he really swore a blood oath and chose to submit to Longao, then even if he obtained the chaos energy in the tablet, it would be useless. If he really agreed, then he'd really be out of his mind. Long Ming, didn't you just say that you'd agree to any condition I have? Ha ha ha, ha 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 ha, Longao, are you out of your mind? Although I just said that I'd agree to any condition you have, you've gone too far. You want me to submit? Let me ask you, what makes you think you can do that? Are you qualified? After all, Long Ming was the ruler of time and starry sky, the strongest ruler of the starry sky. If it weren't for the fact that he didn't have full confidence in killing Longao, he would have attacked long ago. If that's the case, then there's nothing I can do to help you. Longao, you don't have to be so arrogant. If you don't agree, I can join forces with the divine mathematician. When the time comes, 6 rulers of the starry sky will join forces to deal with you. What do you think your chances of winning are? Longao's expression gradually changed and became very gloomy because the rulers of the starry sky were too powerful. 5 and 6 half-step rulers of the starry sky were simply not the same concept. Long Ming was clearly threatening him. It would be fine if he was alone, after all. he had the soaring dragon empire behind him. Long Ming, are you threatening me? So what if I am, Longao, even if your cultivation has successfully broken through the limit of the starry sky immortal realm? So what? I can tell you clearly that you're not even worth a fart in my eyes. I'm looking for you because I think highly of you. Don't think that you're really invincible. If I want to kill you, do you think you can stop me? Chapter 2660. Seeing that Long Ao didn't speak, Long Ming sneered. Long Ao's weakness was the soaring dragon empire. Thinking of this, Long Ming sneered and said, Long Ao, if you don't agree, I will do everything I can to deal with the soaring dragon empire, and leave no one alive. Good, very good, very good. Long Ao didn't care at all. Even the divine mathematician couldn't locate the empire, let alone Long Ming. Taking a step back, even if Long Ming locked the location of the soaring dragon empire, there were two rulers of the starry sky, Xiling and Long Chong in the empire. Long Ming might not be able to get away with it. Because of this, Long Ao didn't care at all. He sneered and said, Long Ming, I'm sorry, your threat to me is useless. Was it really useless? Long Ming certainly didn't care, because he knew very well that as long as he could lock the location of the soaring dragon empire and control Long Ao's family, then he would be able to do whatever he wanted. If that really happened, would Long Ao still dare to do this? Probably not. But before locking the location of the soaring dragon empire and controlling the people of the empire, everything was nonsense. Long Ao, whether threats are useful or not, I don't need to tell you, we will see in the future. Long Ao looked coldly at Long Ming in front of him. His face was very gloomy. If it weren't for the fact that he couldn't kill the ruler of the starry sky with his current strength, Long Ao would have taken action long ago. Why wait until now and dilly-dally? A little impatience spoils great plans. Long Ao knew very well that the more this situation was, the more he had to endure. There must be no mistakes. After all, Long Ming had become the ruler of the starry sky and his strength was there. He was definitely not Long Ming's opponent. You want to leave just like that? Ignoring Long Ming, Long Ao knew very well that if he continued to dawdle like this, it would be meaningless. He couldn't kill Long Ming, and Long Ming couldn't kill him either. In that case, what was the point of staying? Seeing that Long Ao had ignored him, Long Ming's face darkened. Long Ao, I can tell you that apart from this matter, there is another reason why I came to find you. I'm afraid you won't be so calm after hearing it. He stopped abruptly. Turning around, Long Ao said mockingly, If you had any confidence, you wouldn't have waited until now. What do you think? Ha 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 ha. Long Ming laughed maniacally. His laughter was filled with endless madness. Long Yun. When he heard Long Ming mention Long Yun's name, Long Ao's eyes suddenly shot out two beams of cold, golden light. Almost no one knew about Long Yun's matter, except for the people of Soaring Dragon Empire. However, Long Ming knew what Long Ming meant by that. If you have something to say, say it. A bad premonition arose spontaneously. For some reason, Long Ao had an intuition in his heart that Long Ming suddenly mentioning Long Yun at this time was definitely not a good thing. He only had this one son. No matter what happened, he couldn't let anything happen to Yun-er. For the sake of training Yun-er, Long Ao did not stop Yun-er from leaving Soaring Dragon Empire. He wanted Yun-er to train more, even if he had to go through life and death. Back then, he had gone through countless life and death situations to get to where he was today. Otherwise, how could he have the strength and status he had today? Even though Yun-er was already a legend at birth, Long Ao knew clearly that the more talented Yun-er was, the harder it would be for him to level up in the future. As for life and death situations, that would depend on the person. If Yun-er were to meet an extreme star immortal, a half-step star ruler, or even a star ruler, he would be in big trouble. Longao, are you afraid? Longao did not speak. The murderous aura released from his body surged and suppressed Long Ming fiercely. Ignoring the suppression of Longao's killing intent, Long Ming's own strength was there. He sneered and said, Longao, your son is now trapped in the mysterious plane. As long as I want to, I can kill Long Yun at any time. Do you believe me? Endure. Longao forced himself to suppress the anger and anxiety in his heart. However, he knew that he had to endure it even more because he still did not know what was going on with Yun. Whether Long Ming was doing this on purpose or not, no one could say for sure. You don't believe me? Why should I believe you? Long Ming sneered and said, Longao, I'll say it again. It's up to you to believe me or not. If you don't believe me, then I'll go kill Long Yun now. Goodbye. Long Ming left as soon as he said so, as if he was full of confidence. The more it was like this, the more worried Longao was. However, he endured it in the end. Long Ming, who left, was very curious because according to his calculations, as long as he told him about Long Yun, he didn't believe that Longao wouldn't give in. However, the result was far beyond his expectations. Longao actually didn't move at all. Could it be that he was overthinking it? As Long Ming left, he sensed the aura behind him. If Longao's aura was sensed, then there was no doubt that what he said just now was effective. If Longao didn't follow, then there was no doubt that Longao didn't care about his son at all. Even if he killed Long Yun, it would be useless. Long Ming was depressed to the extreme when he didn't sense Longao's aura following him. However, since things had already come to this, he had no better way. Right at this moment. Ha ha, Longao, it seems that you still believe me. Since that's the case, why don't you come out and let's have a good talk? As long as you agree to my conditions, I won't deal with Long Yun. How about it? Longao was very shocked, because all this time, he had been completely confident in hiding his aura, but he never thought that even though he was so careful, he would still be discovered by Long Ming. He really couldn't figure out how Long Ming did it. It seemed that he had underestimated Long Ming and the strength of the Starry Sky ruler. Since he had been discovered, Longao didn't continue to hide. After revealing himself, Longao said in a very cold voice, Long Ming, let's be frank. I can't do the conditions you just mentioned. Not to mention dealing with Yun. Even if you want to kill me, you can't do it. There was no doubt because Long Yun knew very well that the conditions he had just mentioned, not to mention Longao, even the godly mathematician and the others couldn't do it. Chapter 26:61. Longao, I know you can't do it. Longao cursed in his heart. Longao, you've already said it just now, there's no need to talk nonsense between us, I cannot deal with Long Yun, as long as you promise me one more thing, I can swear a blood oath, no matter what, I won't deal with Long Yun, how about it? Longao already knew that he had been tricked. Long Ming was like this, retreating in order to advance. From the beginning to the end, he believed that Long Ming had never thought that he would be able to help him obtain the chaotic force within the primal chaos stone tablet. In the end, it was because Long Ming wanted to ask him for something else. However, he was in a very passive position right now. Even if he was very angry in his heart, he could only choose to compromise. Once he found Yun and brought him back to the Soaring Dragon Empire, he would be able to rest easy. After this incident, Longao had already decided that no matter what happened, he would do everything he could to find Yun and bring Yun back to the Soaring Dragon Empire. The current situation was very special. Longao did not know what would happen if Yun continued to stay outside and encountered the so-called Starry Sky ruler or half-step Starry Sky. If something really happened to Yun he wouldn't even have the chance to regret it. Sky Martial Continent, Crystal Palace in the Outer Sea. If you help me obtain this item, our grudges will be written off. I will keep my word. All right. Longao turned around and left. In a short while, his figure had already disappeared without a trace. Looking at Longao, who had already left, Long Ming smiled and muttered to himself, Longao, I hope you don't die in the sky martial continent. Borrow a knife to kill someone. Long Ming's true intention was to borrow a knife to kill someone, because he knew that with just his own strength, he would not be able to kill Longao. Only in this way could he successfully kill Longao. As for Long Yun, Long Ming did not know where Long Yun was at all. Sky martial continent. Outer sea, Crystal Palace. When Long Ming's figure appeared, the five of them asked impatiently, Long Ming, how did it go? It turned out that Long Ming had long since joined forces with the God Diviner. However, just to be safe, the six of them were preparing to deal with Longao on the Martial Heaven continent. Only then could they be absolutely safe. As long as they were dealing with Longao outside, the six of them didn't have the slightest bit of confidence. They were especially afraid of the heaven-defying Starry Sky Divine artifact in Longao's hands. This was Master God Diviner's plan. It's done. For Long Yun, Longao will definitely come to the Martial Heaven continent. At that time we have to kill him. Otherwise, we'll be letting a tiger return to the mountain. Long Ming was very afraid of Longao. Not to mention Long Ming, even the five people present were extremely fearful of Longao. If it had been anyone else, any one of the six Starry Sky rulers would have been able to deal with them easily, let alone if they had joined forces. The only exception was Longao. Although Longao was only a peak Starry Sky immortal, he was still a huge problem. Otherwise, Master God Diviner wouldn't have needed to specially plan and gather 4 half-step Starry Sky rulers, as well as himself and Yi Dugu to deal with Longao. Master God Diviner and the others naturally knew what Long Ming meant. Long Mia said, if we can't kill Longao with the 6 of us working together and the Martial Heaven continent's super formation, the 6 of us won't have the face to continue. Tiandao nodded in agreement and said, the reason why Longao is so arrogant is nothing more than relying on the heaven-defying Starry Sky Divine tool in his hands. When he steps into the Sky Martial Continent this time, he can't enter the Starry Sky Divine tool. I want to see how confident he is to leave alive. In their view, the reason Longao had been able to survive until now was inseparable from his heaven-defying Starry Sky Divine artifact. As long as Longao couldn't enter the Martial Heaven continent, he would definitely die. Outside the Martial Heaven continent, Longao coldly looked at the plain in front of him. His intuition told him that if he entered the Martial Heaven continent, he wouldn't even be able to come out alive. Longao still had a suspicion in his heart, and that was whether or not Long Ming had already joined forces with the Divine Mathematician and the others. If that was the case, then things would be very troublesome. If he rashly went in like this, he would fall into the other party's trap. He had always been worried about Long Yun. Otherwise, he wouldn't have entered the Martial Heaven continent so easily. Until now, Longao still couldn't be sure whether Long Ming was telling the truth or not. It was better to be safe than sorry. If Long Ming was telling the truth and he really knew where Long Yun was, then with Long Ming's power, dealing with Long Yun would be a matter of minutes. Longao didn't dare take that risk. The most important thing right now was to split up. The first path was for him to enter the Martial Heaven continent. Whether or not Long Ming was telling the truth, he would delay him. The second path was for Xiling, Long Chong, Miao Ling and the others to search for Long Yun. With Long Chong and the others' power, they could do whatever they wanted in the Starry Sky. It was precisely because of this that Longao first returned to the Soaring Dragon Empire at the fastest speed, and only came here after he was done. Enter? Or not? If he entered, then once Long Ming and Master God Diviner joined forces, he would be in a very passive position. After all, there were 6 rulers of the Starry Sky. If he didn't enter, then if Long Ming's words were true, he wouldn't care. With the primal chaos hall's protection, even if the 6 of them joined forces, he wouldn't be afraid. Only his son would be in danger. Yun definitely wasn't a match for the rulers of the starry sky. If it were anyone else, even if they knew that the martial heaven continent was filled with danger, they would definitely stop here. No one was willing to treat their own life as a joke. Unless there was something wrong with their heads or they were courting death, no one would dare to do that. The only exception was Longao, a madman who didn't fear heaven or earth. Even though he knew that the possibility of Long Ming joining hands with the God Diviner was very high, and he also knew that the God Diviner and the 6 of them were working together. Perhaps they were waiting for him in the martial heaven continent. But thinking about it, Longao still decided to go. If it was before, Longao definitely wouldn't have casually entered the martial heaven continent and taken such a risk. 2 beams of light shot out from Longao's eyes. In the next second, Longao's figure suddenly disappeared from where he was. With time teleportation, Longao's figure had already entered the Tianwu continent in an instant. As expected, as soon as Longao entered the martial heaven continent, he knew that his guess had been right. Long Ming and Master God Diviner had joined forces to deal with him. Chapter 2662. Trying to step into the primal chaos hall, Longao realized that he could no longer do so. Longao knew what it meant to be unable to enter the primal chaos hall. The moment he stepped into the sky martial continent, Longao could clearly sense that the sky martial continent was covered by a mysterious barrier. If he was not wrong, it should be the work of a formation. So, there was a formation in the sky martial continent. It seemed that this formation was not simple. Ha 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 ha. Bursts of laughter could be heard. In the blink of an eye, the godly mathematician Yi Dugu, Long Ming, Long Mie, Tian Dao, and Blood Demon had all descended. They looked at Longao as though he was their prey. Longao, I'm curious. Since you've already guessed the answer, why did you still come in? Long Ming and the others were not fools. They believed that Longao had already guessed it. That was precisely the reason. The godly mathematician and the others were curious. They did not know why Longao wanted to come in despite knowing the answer. Long Ming, I've already entered the sky martial continent. I just want to ask you one thing. Do you know where Long Yun is? I don't know. There was no anger. Longao smiled. He had already guessed that this would be the answer. However, he still wanted to verify it to remove the last bit of worry in his heart. Longao did not want Wan Yi to appear. Longao's question also let the 6 of them know why the other party insisted on coming in despite knowing that this was a trap. In the end, it was because Longao was not sure if Long Ming really knew about Long Yun. Without full confidence, Longao still chose to take the risk and enter the sky martial continent. Longao, as long as you hand over everything you have and are willing to be suppressed by us, we can choose to let you go after 100 million years. How about it? Long Mie snorted coldly and said, Longao, I believe you've already sensed the current situation of the sky martial continent. It's a fool's dream for you to want to enter your spatial space divine weapon. Longao did not say anything. He just looked at them coldly. How could he not know the current situation? Would Longao choose to compromise? If it had been anyone else, they might have chosen to compromise. After all, the 6 star rulers in front of them, and the current situation was very unfavorable for Longao. Except for Longao. If he chose to compromise, then he wouldn't be Longao. He sneered. Longao didn't care at all. He smiled and said, In order to deal with me, you guys have put in a lot of effort. If I were to just give up like this, I'm afraid I would have let down your efforts. What did that mean? Master God Diviner and the others weren't fools, and they knew what Longao meant. He was very surprised. The 6 of them did not expect that Longao would still be so arrogant even when things had already reached this stage. The more he was like this, the more their killing intent surged. This kind of variable could not be left alive. Before the godly mathematician could make a move, clairvoyant, does anyone else know about the secret of Jianling Mountain? Jianling Mountain? Among the 6 of them, except for Long Ming, the rest already knew. If it had been any other time, the godly mathematician would not have told anyone, but the situation was very different now. Not wanting to complicate things, the godly mathematician told Long Ming through his spiritual sense as quickly as possible. After hearing this, Long Ming's expression changed, but he didn't say anything because he also knew that things had come to this. First, he had to kill Longao. As for the others, he would deal with them later. Do the 5 of you know what agreement the godly mathematician and Yunlu have made? Humph, Longao, you're about to die, but you still want to sow discord between my father and the other star rulers. Do you think you can succeed? Long Ming and the others didn't say anything, but their expressions were particularly ugly. Yidugu stood up to clarify in a hurry. Was there really something fishy? Longao, I also want to know what agreement I have with Yunlu. The godly mathematician smiled, not caring at all. The godly mathematician decided that no matter what happened, he had to kill Longao. He couldn't let him leave this place alive. Right now, Longao was only at the peak of the starry sky, immortal realm. Who knew how Longao would grow the next time they met? Half-step Longao? Or would he directly become a star ruler? The godly mathematician didn't have the slightest confidence. The only way was to cut the weeds and eliminate the root. He couldn't give Longao any chance. Longao, what do you want to say? Sow discord. Longao knew that the current situation was very unfavorable for him. The entire martial heaven continent was enveloped in the aura of the formation. If he couldn't enter the primal chaos hall, it would be very difficult for him to leave this place alive. The only way was to sow discord. As long as the godly mathematician and Long Ming started fighting, he could take advantage of the opportunity to leave. Thinking of that godly mathematician, when I entered the channel, I sealed it for the sake of the safety of the starry sky. As for you and Yunlu, you agreed that as long as you helped Yunlu obtain what he wanted, he would help you obtain the primal chaos energy within the primal chaos stone tablet. Is that true? Primal chaos energy? If it had been anything else, Long Ming and the others might not have cared. However, the chaotic force was the starry sky ruler's weakness. Everyone knew very well what it meant to have the chaotic force and not to have it. If the marvelous mathematician could really master the chaotic force, then even if all of them joined forces, they would not be a match for him. Although they had no choice but to join forces for Longao, they all had their own ulterior motive. That was why the 4 of them didn't want the godly mathematician to obtain the primal chaos energy within the primal chaos stone tablet. As the saying went, there was no smoke without fire. Longao wouldn't say such a thing for no reason. The 4 of them looked at the godly mathematician, their meaning clear. The godly mathematician knew what Longao was implying. He said coldly, Longao, do you think it's useful to sow discord like this? I've met Yunlu before and I've already told them. As for what you said about us having an agreement, that's nonsense. The godly mathematician immediately attacked. He didn't want to complicate matters. As long as he could kill Longao, he wouldn't hesitate to fall out with Long Ming and the others. Therefore, the most important thing right now was to kill Longao as quickly as possible. But a second later, although Longao was shrouded by the aura and couldn't enter the primal chaos hall, that didn't mean he couldn't use the temporal blink. A moment later, Longao's figure disappeared without a trace. Temporal blink? As the star ruler of time, Long Ming naturally knew what temporal blink meant. Chapter 2663. In the entire universe, there were probably no more than 3 people who could comprehend temporal teleportation. Long Ming was one of them. As for the other 2, he'd already killed them. Long Ming never would have guessed that Longao could also comprehend temporal teleportation. No matter what, spatial teleportation and temporal teleportation were 2 completely different concepts. They were completely different existences. The 2 could not be compared at all. How had Longao managed to comprehend temporal teleportation? Long Ming had no time to think about anything else. Longao was too unpredictable. Who knew how far he'd go if he was allowed to develop? He had to be killed. Cut the weeds and pull up the roots to prevent future trouble. Long Ming was the first to rush out, also using temporal teleportation. 6 rulers joining forces to deal with Longao was a joke in itself. If word of this got out, they'd be the laughingstock of the universe. It would be a great humiliation. You've already seen how unpredictable Longao is. It's up to you whether you want to continue working together. If you don't want to, you can leave now. I won't see you out. Long Ming chased after them. Master God Diviner and Yi Dugu didn't hesitate either. Even if they had a card up their sleeve, they wanted to end the battle quickly. Long Mia, the Heavenly Tao, and the Blood Demon. The 3 of them looked at each other and saw a trace of anger in each other's eyes. In the end, they chose to believe Longao because they couldn't afford to lose, especially Master God Diviner. They'd fallen for his trap. If not for the fact that he'd wanted to obtain chaos energy, they wouldn't have been able to refine the tablet and become rulers of the universe. Now that they thought about it, they were terrified. No matter what happened, they couldn't let Master God Diviner obtain chaos energy. Gentlemen, what do you think we should do next? The other 2 naturally knew what Long Mia meant. Let's get rid of Longao first. As for Master God Diviner, we need to think about it at length. No matter what, we can't let him obtain the chaos energy in the tablet. Alright. Get rid of Longao. The 3 of them left in a single file. The 6 rulers of the starry skies had chosen to temporarily join forces for the sake of a common goal. If it had been any other time, each of them would have harbored ulterior motives and might even have come to blows. Longao's speed was extremely fast. Still, it was almost impossible for him to shake off the 6 rulers of galaxy with his speed. Even if Longao already had temporal teleportation, the absolute gap between their realms was not something that temporal teleportation could make up for. Longao was not a fool. Of course, he knew that he could not continue like this. Otherwise, the 6 of them would catch up to him sooner or later. Once he caught up to them, he would lose without a doubt. Even if he had the protection of the 9-colored Chaos Lotus and an immortal body, it was easy to imagine what would happen if the 6 rulers of space joined forces to suppress him. What should he do? The situation was urgent. While he was running, Longao kept slashing his Chaos Axe at the 6 people behind him. With the Chaos Axe and the Chaos 9 axes, coupled with the power of the starry sky, even the rulers of the starry skies would not dare to meet him head-on. No matter who it was in the vast starry skies, including the starry skies, no one could resist a spatial crack. However, it was also impossible for Longao to rely on the spatial crack to kill the 6 of them. In any case, this situation was very unfavorable for Longao. Most importantly, he was shrouded in the aura of the formation. He could not step into the primal chaos hall. In that case, he could only choose to run or fight the 6 of them head-on. Fighting head-on was definitely not possible. He could only run. Longao was too familiar with the martial heaven continent. After all, he had been born here. If it weren't for the divine mathematician, he would have been very willing to establish the Soaring Dragon Empire's headquarters on the martial heaven continent. However, with the divine mathematician here, it was almost impossible. Scarlet Flame Town. Unknowingly, Longao didn't know why he had come here. Suddenly, he seemed to have thought of something. Longao's speed once again soared to the limit. He entered the forbidden area of the Red Fire Town with his fastest speed. The primal chaos rock had been sealed within the forbidden area. As for how long it had been sealed, even the divine mathematician and the primal chaos rock couldn't remember. "You're courting death." Seeing Longao actually walk right into the trap and enter the forbidden area, the divine mathematician was pleasantly surprised to the extreme. The five of them also knew what the divine mathematician was thinking. They didn't hesitate and followed him into the forbidden area. The forbidden area, a huge cave. As soon as Longao entered the cave, he immediately entered the sealed area. He didn't dare to hesitate. He immediately entered the sealed area and began to circulate the power the primal chaos rock had left behind. Back when the primordial rock had been sealed by Master God Diviner, it was bored, and would leave behind some of its power in the sealing area. A day or two might not be a big deal, but if it took countless years to accumulate power, then it was a completely different matter. In the blink of an eye, the 6 rulers of the starry sky had arrived. Seeing Longao walk into the sealed area, the 6 of them smiled. It seemed that Longao was like a bird that was startled by the twang of a bough. He had entered the sealed area on his own accord. If it had been before, the 6 of them wouldn't have dared to casually kill Longao with the deterrence of the white-robed girl. Even if they had sealed Longao with the help of the white-robed girl, it wouldn't have been a big deal. "Longao, since you've walked right into the trap, don't blame me for being impolite." As soon as the divine mathematician finished speaking, he seemed to sense something, and his face suddenly changed. "Father, what's wrong?" It wasn't just Yi Dugu. The other 4 were also very curious. They didn't know what was going on with the divine mathematician. In any case, Longao had nowhere to go. Now was the best time to kill Longao. The divine mathematician's face was very gloomy. He said coldly, "It seems that there was an agreement between you and the primal chaos rock. I never thought that the primal chaos rock would leave its power here." "Very good, very good." The divine mathematician regretted it to the extreme. He had thought that Longao could help him deal with the primal chaos rock. In the end, he never thought that not only did Longao not help him control the primal chaos rock, but the 2 of them had come together and brought him endless trouble in the future. The seal of the primal chaos rock had been broken, and now Longao had borrowed the power of the primal chaos rock. It would be a lie to say that he didn't regret it. Yi Dugu and the other 4 certainly knew what the divine mathematician meant. However, Longao and the other 3 didn't know what the primal chaos rock was. In the entire vast starry sky, besides the divine mathematician, there were only 2 people who knew about the primal chaos rock. One was Yi Dugu, and the other was Longao. Chapter 2664. The 4 of them looked at Master Clairvoyant at the same time. Their meaning was clear. Since things had come to this, Master Clairvoyant didn't hide anything. He briefly told them about the primal chaos rock. They were shocked. But more importantly, they were glad. They weren't angry at all about the primal chaos rock. Even if the primal chaos rock could help Longao, they wouldn't be angry. The reason was simple. If Master Clairvoyant really controlled the primal chaos rock and obtained the primal chaos force, the consequences would be unimaginable. The 4 of them were very grateful to Longao. If Longao hadn't helped the primal chaos rock break out of the seal, who knew what would have happened? How could Master Clairvoyant not know what the 4 of them were thinking? He was gloating. He sneered in his heart. Even without the primal chaos rock, he could still obtain the primal chaos force with his own strength. Master Clairvoyant, since things have come to this, I won't hide some things from you. The primal chaos rock can indeed help the starry sky ruler obtain the primal chaos force, and I have already found a way to do so. Longao's words caused an uproar. Master Clairvoyant's face was gloomy to the extreme, and it was as ugly as it could be. Countless years of hard work had ended up in someone else's hands. How could he not be angry? Endless anger turned into billowing murderous intent, but Longao didn't care at all. Even the Starry Sky ruler couldn't suppress him with his aura. Tiandao smiled and said, "Master Clairvoyant, this is your fault. If you had told us about the Primal Chaos Rock earlier, we might have all obtained the Primal Chaos Force by now." Master Clairvoyant cursed in his heart. Of course, he didn't want others, including the 4 in front of him, to obtain the Primal Chaos Force. Master Clairvoyant knew very well that if he could obtain the Primal Chaos Force alone, he could dominate the vast starry sky. There was no need to help others. He would rather lose the opportunity than let others obtain the Primal Chaos Force. Seeing Master Clairvoyant remain silent, Tiandao and the others had already guessed what he was thinking. The 4 of them sneered in their hearts. "Master Clairvoyant, how strong is the Primal Chaos Rock? I'm no match for the Primal Chaos Rock at its peak." Master Clairvoyant's words. They were well aware of Master God Diviner's strength. Among the 12 rulers of the starry sky, the marvelous mathematician could be said to be the most powerful. But even the marvelous mathematician was no match for the chaotic giant rock. It was easy to imagine how powerful the chaotic giant rock was. However, the 4 of them weren't too worried. According to Master Godly Mathematician, the primordial rock was severely injured, and it was almost impossible for it to fully recover. He was pleasantly surprised. Now that the Primal Chaos Rock had destroyed the ceiling mark, it wasn't just Master God Diviner. All 4 of them had a chance. Controlling the Primal Chaos Rock and obtaining the Primal Chaos Energy all depended on luck. Master God Diviner had the same thought as the 4 of them. "Longao, where is the Chaos Dupeng now?" Master God Diviner's question was exactly what the 4 of them wanted to ask. After all, they all wanted to acquire Primal Chaos Energy. However, they all knew how difficult it was to do so. The Primal Chaos Rock was the key. Longao smiled. After obtaining the power of the Primal Chaos Rock, Longao was no longer as helpless as before. Before leaving the Soaring Dragon Empire, the Primal Chaos Rock had told him that there was a power left in the forbidden area where it was sealed. If he accidentally obtained it, it could help him. "Do the 4 of you want to know the whereabouts of the Primal Chaos Rock?" The 4 of them didn't speak, but the expression on their faces said everything. It would be a lie to say that they didn't want to know. However, with Master God Diviner by their side and Longao to deal with, the 4 of them didn't answer immediately. Master God Diviner and Yi Dugu's faces were very gloomy. They also didn't speak. They wanted to see what tricks Longao was playing. "If the 4 of you want to know the location of the Primal Chaos Rock, I can fulfill your wish. I can also make a blood oath, but you have to agree to one condition." "What condition?" Master God Diviner was impatient. As long as they could find the Primal Chaos Rock, they would be able to fulfill Longao's condition. The 4 of them had already decided that as long as Longao could tell them the location of the Primal Chaos Rock, they wouldn't hesitate to help him leave the Martial Heaven continent. Master God Diviner and Yi Dugu knew what the 4 of them were thinking, and they were infuriated. However, in this kind of situation, they had to retreat in order to advance. They couldn't lose their sense of propriety. "My condition is very simple. You have to work together to kill Yi Dugu and Master God Diviner, and you can't continue to attack me. Otherwise, even if I die, I won't tell you anything about the Primal Chaos Rock." As expected, the 4 of them had already guessed that Longao would do this, and their expressions were ugly. If it had been Longao, it would have been easy for the 4 of them to deal with Longao. However, dealing with Master God Diviner and Yi Dugu was a bit more difficult. The 2 of them were not ordinary cultivators of the starry sky. They were true rulers of the starry sky. When 2 tigers fought, one of them would be injured. At that time, Longao would be able to reap the benefit. How could the four of them so easily agree to such a foolish thing? If they had absolute confidence in being able to control the primal chaos rock and use its power to obtain primal chaos energy, it would have been worth it to go all out against Master God Diviner and Yi Dugu. However, the current situation was a bit special. Taking a step back, even if the four of them really did manage to find the primal chaos rock, what if they couldn't obtain primal chaos energy from the primal chaos rock? Wouldn't the gains not make up for the losses? Longao, forgive us for not being able to agree to your condition. As long as you tell us the location of the primal chaos rock, we can promise you that you can safely leave the Martial Heaven continent. Furthermore, we won't attack you for 100 years. What do you think? It went without saying that their conditions were tempting. After all, the current situation was very unfavorable for Longao. Just being able to leave the Martial Heaven continent would be good enough. But would Longao agree? If Longao agreed, he wouldn't be Longao. Sneering, Longao said, I already said that even if I die, I won't tell you the location of the primal chaos rock. Furthermore, I can tell you that the reason Master God Diviner didn't kill you back then was because he wanted to obtain primal chaos energy. Once he obtained primal chaos energy, the four of you should know the consequences better than I do. I hope you can consider it carefully so that you won't have a chance to regret it when the time comes. Chapter 2665. Sowing Discord. Of course, the four of them knew that Longao was deliberately sowing discord. Even so, the four of them still felt very uncomfortable. Especially what happened back then, the marvelous mathematician had clearly tricked them. If it weren't for their good luck, they would have either continued to be suppressed or continued to be reincarnated. Oh no. How could the marvelous mathematician continue to let Longao speak? The more he spoke, the more troublesome the situation would become. Before the marvelous mathematician could speak, Longao had already said, Marvelous mathematician, do you really think you can still kill me? If it were before, the marvelous mathematician would have been full of confidence. But now, the situation was completely different. Longao could temporarily borrow the power of the chaotic giant rock. It would be a lie to say that he was not simple, because until now, the marvelous mathematician had not completely figured out how powerful the chaotic giant rock was at its peak. Attack? Or not? Things had already come to this point, and it was impossible for him to choose to give up. No matter what happened this time, he had to kill Longao smoothly. Cut the weeds and dig up the roots to prevent future troubles. Longao, whether you will die or not, we can try. The marvelous mathematician and Yi Dugu took a step forward. Their meaning was very clear. The blood demon and the other three looked uncertain because once Longao died, no one would know the location of the chaotic giant rock, and the four of them would be completely cut off from the chance to obtain the power of chaos. Before the marvelous mathematician could make a move, Longao struck first to gain the initiative. With the power of the chaotic giant rock, he forcibly broke through the surrounding aura of the array. The next second, before the six of them could react, Longao's figure had disappeared without a trace. Looking at Longao, who had disappeared in front of them, the six of them instantly knew that things were not going well. Longao did not want to preemptively attack them at all. Instead, he used the power of the chaotic giant rock to force the surrounding aura of the array to enter the starry sky divine artifact. No matter how much they calculated, the six people did not expect that Longao would use this move. They had miscalculated. The marvelous mathematician's face was very gloomy because the six of them knew better than anyone how powerful the starry sky divine artifact in Longao's hand was. What they were afraid of had really come true. Now that Longao had entered the starry sky divine artifact, it was almost impossible for the six of them to locate him. They had arranged everything, in the end, all their efforts were in the end. It's all because of the four of you. If you work together, how could Longao enter the space divine tool so easily? Yes. He stopped Yi Dugu from continuing. Of course, the divine mathematician knew that Longao himself wanted the two sides to fight each other. If that was the case, wouldn't Longao benefit in vain? They absolutely could not kill each other. The four of you, Dugu is outspoken. Please don't mind him. The four of them knew that they had been tricked, but they still felt uncomfortable. How to choose? The four of them were in a bit of a dilemma. Yi Dugu, I can state my position on the matter of the chaotic giant rock. As long as we work together to kill Longao, I will do everything in my power to locate it. When the time comes, the six of us will use it to obtain the power of chaos. What do you think? Could he really locate the chaotic giant rock? Skyway inwardly sneered, but he said, Marvelous mathematician, of course we do not doubt your divination abilities. But it doesn't seem to be of much use to Longao. What do you think? It would have been fine if he had not mentioned this. But as soon as he did, the marvelous mathematician felt deeply helpless. Even if he had not mastered the divine calculation of the primal chaos power in the primal chaos stone tablet, it was more than enough for him to calculate other people's matters. However, when it came to calculating Longao, he failed again and again, unable to succeed. It was very depressing. But at this moment, the marvelous mathematician was brimming with confidence. Yi Dugu, I know what you mean. But I can tell you clearly that as Longao dies, I have full confidence that I will be able to divine the chaotic giant rock's location. Could he really? The four of them were half convinced. The marvelous mathematician did not wait for them to speak. Longao is too unpredictable. Unless I control the power of chaos within the tablet, I will not be able to locate the Longao. But the situation is different now. Once Longao dies. Master God Diviner didn't say anything else, but the meaning behind his words was clear. How could the four not know? If it had been any other time, or any other matter, the four of them would have chosen to give up. Except for this matter. Things had already reached this point. If the four of them did not agree, wouldn't all their efforts be for naught? Taking 10,000 steps back. If the four of them chose to give up now, the marvelous mathematician and Yi Dugu would be able to kill Longao, lock onto the chaotic giant rock's location, and obtain everything on Longao's body. At that time, the four of them would be in a passive position. Thinking of that, marvelous mathematician, we had no other intentions. Just as you said, we have a common enemy. No matter what happens, we must kill Longao, said the marvelous mathematician. Humph. Yi Dugu snorted coldly. How could he not know how shameless the four of them were? But in this situation, even he and his father were helpless. Otherwise, how could he allow the four of them to act like this? A little impatience spoils great plans. The marvelous mathematician smiled, not caring at all. All right, let's start now. Don't let Longao divide us. This is our only chance. Longao's spatial divine item is heaven-defying. Once he leaves the martial heaven continent, it won't be so easy for us to scheme against Longao. How could the four of them not know what the marvelous mathematician meant? Even if they were unwilling, the truth was in front of them. The four of them could only choose to cooperate. Let alone the estrangement between the four of them and the marvelous mathematician, even the four of them had their own ulterior motives. It was just that in this situation, the four of them had chosen to endure and cooperate. The six of them knew that although Longao's spatial divine item was heaven-defying, it was unable to leave the cave. As long as they locked onto this place, Longao would not be able to escape. The six of them took up 4 positions, while the other 2 guarded the entrance. This way it was flawless. If Longao wanted to leave the cave, it would be as easy as ascending to heaven. Time was nothing to the 6 of them. As long as they could successfully kill Longao and obtain all the things on Longao's body, as well as the chaotic giant rocks helped to obtain the chaotic power, they believed that it would be worth wasting any more time. Father, are we really going to endure? Chapter 2666. Even now, Yidugu still couldn't figure it out. Why did his father have to endure it again and again? Master Godly Mathematician was even more furious than Yidugu, but in this situation, how could he not endure it? He still had to rely on the four of them to deal with Longao, especially now that Longao had successfully entered the spatial artifact. It would be even more difficult to deal with him. Endure? Endure? Yidugu knew his father would say that, but since his father had already said so, what else could he do? Dugu, when we kill Longao later, you must remember one thing. You must obtain all of Longao's things. Yidugu was no fool. He instantly understood his father's meaning. As a ruler of the stars, as long as he could obtain Longao's things, no matter how unwilling the four of them were, they could only choose to accept it. Father, I know what to do. Inside the primal chaos palace, Longao was helpless. There were 6 rulers of the stars outside. It was impossible for him to leave smoothly. The situation was critical. The longer he delayed, the worse it would be for him. In this situation, he had to leave as quickly as possible. Tianwu continent. The current Tianwu continent had not been completely sealed. Other cultivators might not be able to lock onto it, but that didn't mean the rulers of the stars couldn't. Xiling and Long Chong appeared outside the Tianwu continent. When Longao had returned to the Soaring Dragon Empire, he had already told the 2 of them. As for the others, they kept their mouths shut because they didn't want their families to worry. They were very worried. Xiling and Long Chong knew very well what it meant for Longao to enter the Tianwu continent alone. If Long Ming really joined forces with Master Godly Mathematician, then the Tianwu continent would have 6 rulers of the stars. What kind of concept was that? Not to mention Longao's current strength, even if Longao could refine the attributeless Primal Chaos Tablet and become a ruler of the stars, without controlling Primal Chaos energy, he still wouldn't be able to fight against 6 rulers alone. There was no doubt about that. Worried, Xiling and Long Chong prepared to come. Sister Xiling, I have a bad feeling that something has happened to Big Brother. Of course, Xiling knew about the relationship between Longao and Long Chong. Not only Long Chong, but she also had a bad feeling about this. Did something really happen to Longao? Let's go. Without the slightest hesitation, Xiling and Long Chong took a step forward. Working together, they broke through the barrier of the Martial Heaven continent. Not here. Sister Xiling, I heard from Big Brother that the place where the Godly Mathematician sealed the Chaos Giant Rock was Red Fire Town. Scarlet Fire Town. Long Chong was no stranger to the Scarlet Fire Town. The 2 of them took a step forward and arrived outside the Scarlet Fire Town in an instant. As expected. The 2 of them sensed the auras of the Godly Mathematician's group of 6, and the 6 of them sensed Xiling and Long Chong's auras as well. The Godly Mathematician's group of 6 looked at the 2 of them with ugly expressions. They knew that Longao had 2 rulers of the stars guarding him. But knowing was one thing, and seeing it was another. The 2 of you, don't you think you've gone too far by trespassing on the Martial Heaven continent? The Martial Heaven continent was the Godly Mathematician's headquarters. Ignoring the other cultivators of the stars, even the rulers of the stars couldn't enter without permission from the Godly Mathematician. Trespassing on the Martial Heaven continent was tantamount to shedding all pretense of cordiality. Other rulers of the stars wouldn't do this. However, Xiling and Long Chong didn't care in the slightest. They chose to ignore it. Even if they hadn't trespassed on the Martial Heaven continent, their enmity with the Godly Mathematician would have been irreconcilable in the future. Godly mathematician, if it was a one-on-one fight between you and Longao, Long Chong and I wouldn't have interfered. But as rulers of the stars, the 6 of you joined hands to deal with Longao. Don't you think that's a bit too shameless? Big Sister Xiling is right. Godly mathematician, who do the 6 of you think you are? How could you act so shamelessly against my big brother? I feel ashamed for you. The 6 of them didn't get angry at all. Instead, they laughed. Xiling, Long Chong, do you still not understand the situation? Longao came to the martial heaven continent of his own accord and provoked us. If we didn't do anything, shameless. He had seen shameless people before, but he had never seen someone this shameless. Long Chong had an urge to immediately attack and kill him, but in the end, he endured. No matter what, the other side had 6 rulers of the stars. If the 6 of them joined hands, they couldn't be underestimated. Godly mathematician, have you forgotten that you made a 10,000-year agreement with my big brother? Aren't you afraid of the backlash from the blood oath? Backlash from the blood oath? Ha ha, ha 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 ha. The godly mathematician laughed crazily. Long Ming, you've already refined the primal chaos tablet and become the ruler of the stars. Don't you know that as rulers of the stars, we can use our yuan spirits to suppress blood oaths? Long Chong had only just become the ruler of the stars, so he didn't know much about their divine abilities. Looking at Xiling, he asked, Big Sister Xiling, is this true? Xiling's expression was ugly. She helplessly said, Long Chong, the godly mathematician is right. As rulers of the stars, blood oaths are useless to us. I overlooked this point and didn't tell Longao about it. It wasn't that Xiling had overlooked it, or that Xiling had forgotten it. From start to finish, Xiling had never imagined that the godly mathematician would be so shameless. As rulers of the stars, once they made an agreement, let alone a blood oath, even if it was a verbal agreement, no one would be willing to unilaterally break it. That was the status of a ruler of the stars. Long Chong wasn't a fool. He instantly understood what Xiling meant. He sneered, Godly mathematician, I really have to admire your shamelessness. I can't even catch up to you. How could you possibly catch up to the shamelessness of the godly mathematician? Big brother. Seeing Longao suddenly appear, Long Chong and Xiling were overjoyed. It seemed that their big brother had escaped this disaster. Xiling couldn't wait to ask, Are you okay? Shaking his head, Longao said, I'm fine. Turning around, Longao smiled and said, The 6 of you didn't succeed in killing me before, so I'm afraid you won't have another chance in the future. As for the godly mathematician, I already knew that the ruler of the stars could use his yuan spirit to suppress blood oaths. But I always thought that since the godly mathematician had made a 10,000-year agreement with me, he wouldn't break it. I didn't think that the ruler of the stars, the godly mathematician, would be so shameless. Chapter 2667. He didn't care. As long as he could kill Longao, he didn't care about losing face. Master God Diviner knew full well that Longao was becoming more and more unpredictable. He could no longer control him. Fate was unpredictable. Even if he refined the Divine Divination Tablet and became the Divine Divination Ruler of Starry Sky, he still wouldn't be able to control fate. Longao, I can spare your life, but… Before Master God Diviner could finish, Longao waved his hand. He sneered. Master God Diviner, there's no point in talking to someone like you. Either you live or I die. I hope you can protect yourself. Master God Diviner and Yi Dugu didn't care. If the previous Yi Dugu had not refined the Primal Chaos Tablet, then Longao might have been able to kill Yi Dugu. But the situation was different now. His son had already successfully assimilated the Primal Chaos Steel and become a ruler of the stars. Longao, Violet Spirit, and Long Chong alone were not strong enough to kill his son, and that included himself. If that was the case, there was no need to worry. Longao, do you think you're qualified? Whether I'm qualified or not isn't up to you or me. When the time comes, we'll see who wins. The more Longao acted like this, the more uncertain Master God Diviner felt. Longao was too unpredictable, especially with the appearance of the white-robed girl. She seemed to have an unusual relationship with Longao. Things were getting more and more complicated. The Tao of Heaven, who'd been silent all this time, suddenly spoke. Longao, do you think you can leave here alive today? You? Long Chong was furious. Tao of Heaven, he said coldly, I'm going to take Big Brother away today. Let's see who dares to stop me. Long Chong wasn't the same as before. None of the 6 rulers of Starry Sky were confident that they could stop Long Chong and Xiling. The more this was the case, the more he wanted to kill Longao. They had worked so hard to lure the Longao to the Martial Heaven continent. If the Longao left just like that, it would not be so easy to lure the Longao to the Martial Heaven continent in the future. No matter what, he could not allow Longao to leave the Sky Martial continent. The 6 sovereigns of Starry Skies had all come to a decision. Fight! As soon as Master God Diviner finished speaking, the 6 rulers of the stars appeared. 6 against 2. Although Longao had already devoured the primal chaos steel, he had no choice but to refine it and become a ruler of the stars. Given his current strength, there was no way he could fight a ruler of the stars. Don't get caught up in the battle. Help me break through the surrounding aura. Xiling and Long Chong knew that the current situation was very unfavorable for them. There was no need for them to clash head-on. Xiling and Long Chong might not be able to suppress the 6 of them, but they could break through the aura that surrounded them. Even the 6 of them could not stop them. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. In the blink of an eye, Xiling and Long Chong, as well as Longao, vanished without a trace. It was this again. Master God Diviner and the others were about to go crazy. If they had to fight them head-on, they wouldn't have to fear Longao's group of 3. It was just that Longao's heaven-defying divine artifact was a pain in the ass. The most helpless thing was that, even the 6 of them were unable to lock onto Longao's heaven-defying divine artifact. It was very depressing. We can't continue like this. As long as we can't deal with Longao's spatial divine artifact, it'll be impossible to deal with him. Exactly. The most important thing right now is to think of a way to lock onto Longao's divine artifact. The 6 of them were very clear that the reason Longao was so confident was because he possessed a heaven-defying spatial divine artifact. Otherwise, he wouldn't dare to be so arrogant. How could Master God Diviner not understand what they were saying? Father, what should we do now? If Long Chong and Xiling hadn't interfered, then they would have had a very high chance of killing Longao. However, Master God Diviner had never imagined that Xiling and Long Chong would suddenly descend on the Martial Heaven continent. If he had known earlier, he would have stopped them. That way, the 6 of them wouldn't have been so passive. What should they do? Until then, they still couldn't figure out the origin of the heaven-defying Starry Sky divine weapon in Longao's hand. Such a heaven-defying Starry Sky divine weapon was really unheard of. Master God Diviner's expression was very grave. He had originally planned everything, but he hadn't expected that everything would be for naught. How could he not be furious? How could he be willing to accept this? The current situation is very unfavorable for us. Only by trapping Longao on the Martial Heaven continent can we prevent him from entering the spatial divine artifact. However, with Long Chong and Xiling here, we'll be in a very passive position. Everything the heavenly Tao said was true. That was the crux of the matter. The 6 of them looked at each other. They could see the helplessness and anger in each other's eyes, but even more so, they felt shame. Within the primal chaos hall, Longao, you were too reckless this time. Master God Diviner and the others tried to lure you into the martial heaven continent. Just now, I sensed that this place is enveloped by a formation. There's no way for us to enter the primal chaos hall. Longao naturally knew what Xiling was worried about. He smiled and said, I don't regret it. Xiling seemed to want to say something, but in the end, he sighed deeply. Longao had clearly known that entering the martial heaven continent was extremely dangerous, but he had still done so. It was all for his son. He definitely wouldn't regret it. Big brother, no matter what you do, I'll support you. If you live, I live. If you die, I die. Long Chong's face was filled with determination. It was precisely because of that Longao was very moved. However, he didn't say anything. Longao, the current situation is very unfavorable for us. What are you planning to do next? We can't stay here forever. Once Master God Diviner and the others lock onto the Soaring Dragon Empire's position, we'll be in big trouble. That was the crux of the matter. The Empire was his weak spot. No matter what, he couldn't let anything happen to it. Thinking of that, Longao began to panic. Thinking about it, he said, if nothing unexpected happens, Master God Diviner and the others definitely won't let this matter rest. They'll definitely be guarding outside. If we go out now, we won't be able to force our way out of the martial heaven continent. It's just as you said, the current situation is very unfavorable for us. So the more it's like this, the more we have to be calm. We can only use our wits, not our strength. They could only use their wits, not their strength. That was easy to say, but actually doing it was extremely difficult. Xiling and Long Chong were both extremely clear on how difficult this matter was. It wasn't as simple as it seemed. Chapter 2668. For a time, there was no better way to deal with this. Both sides were trying to come up with a solution. Time slowly passed. 10 years passed in the blink of an eye. Longao, Xiling, and Long Chong were trapped within the Primal Chaos Palace, never leaving. If the three of them left the Primal Chaos Palace, they would suffer the frenzied attacks of Master God Diviner and the others. As for Master God Diviner and the others, they had no intention of giving up. They were very depressed. Father, we can't continue like this. Longao has already swallowed the Primal Chaos Steel. If he continues to refine it in the Starry Skies artifact, then everything we've done will be for naught. He was very worried. How could Master God Diviner not know what his son was thinking? This was what Master God Diviner felt most helpless about. Although he couldn't say for certain whether or not Longao had truly swallowed the Primal Chaos Steel, he was still very worried. If it really was as he guessed, and Longao had swallowed the Primal Chaos Steel, then he would be hiding in the Primal Chaos Palace. It was very likely that he had refined the Primal Chaos Steel and become a ruler of the Starry Skies. But it had to be known. Whether or not one became a ruler of the Starry Skies were two completely different things. If one day Longao really did become a ruler of the Starry Skies, then even if the 6 of them joined forces, they wouldn't necessarily be able to suppress Longao. What Master God Diviner was truly worried about wasn't this. He was worried that if Longao really did refine the Primal Chaos Steel and become a ruler of the Starry Skies, then if Longao was lucky, he might be able to control the Primal Chaos energy within the Primal Chaos Steel. If that really was the case, at that time, forget about suppressing Longao, the 6 of them would most likely be suppressed by Longao. Master God Diviner and Yi Dugu naturally didn't want to see this happen. Dugu, Father knows what you're worried about. What you're worried about is exactly what I'm worried about. Father, Longao has Xiling and Long Chong by his side. If we want to kill Longao, it won't be easy. He nodded. Xiling and Long Chong have both become star dominators. They are very difficult to deal with, and it is almost impossible for us to kill them. The only way is to suppress them or send them into the cycle of reincarnation. It was easy to say, but it was extremely difficult to do. Xiling and Longchang were already dominators of the starry sky. Was it possible to send them into the cycle of reincarnation or suppress them? If it were that easy, Master God Diviner and the others wouldn't be so frustrated and helpless. Yi Dugu's face was gloomy. If he had known that this would happen, he would have killed Longao no matter what. He would not be in such trouble now. It was too late for regrets. The most important thing now was to lock onto the starry sky divine artifact in Longao's hands as quickly as possible. Blood Devil and the other three walked over at the same time, their faces gloomy. Master God Diviner, the martial heaven continent's formations are unable to block the attacks of the ruler of the starry sky. It was very depressing. Xiling and Longchang's combined power was truly terrifying. Just the martial heaven continent's formations were unable to block their attack. For 10 years, Longao's group of 3 had appeared many times, but the results were always the same. First, they would fight. When the 3 of them failed to break through, Xiling and Longchang would work together to break through the formation. Then Longao would lead them into the starry sky divine artifact. Provocation. Blatant provocation. How could Master God Diviner and the others not know what Longao's group of 3 wanted to do? On one hand, Longao's group wanted to break out of the martial heaven continent. Without the restrictions of the formation, the 6 of them would no longer be able to trap Longao. On the other hand, the 3 of them were constantly provoking the 6 of them. This was intolerable. They wanted to, but they were powerless. What do the 4 of you think? Tian Dao thought for a while and said, Divine Mathematician, we already have a better understanding of Longao's situation. It's indeed a bit difficult to deal with him alone, but if we can lock onto the Soaring Dragon Empire as soon as possible and control the people of the Soaring Dragon Empire, then I don't believe that Longao won't submit. They all understood Heavenly Dao's meaning. It was easy to say, but locking onto the Soaring Dragon Empire was incomparably difficult. If it was that easy, Master God Diviner wouldn't have been unable to calculate it after so many years. If even Master God Diviner couldn't do it, it would be even more difficult for others. Master God Diviner naturally knew what the 4 of them were thinking. He helplessly said, We're already on the same side. If we could lock onto the Soaring Dragon Empire's location, I would be more willing to do so than you. Before the 4 of them could speak, Master God Diviner continued, If I could obtain primal chaos energy, it would be easy to calculate the Soaring Dragon Empire's location. But right now, it's extremely difficult. If it was under normal circumstances, the 4 of them wouldn't believe him. However, in the current situation, the 4 of them didn't have the slightest doubt, because the 4 of them knew very well that Master God Diviner didn't need to fool them. The more they thought about it, the more helpless they felt. The more they thought about it, the angrier they felt. Even more helplessness and anger were nonsense. As long as Longao had the help of the 2 Starry Sky Dominators and the Starry Sky Dominators, it would be too difficult for the 6 of them to deal with Longao. Father, why don't we invite the other Starry Sky Dominators? If everyone gathers, we may be able to completely suppress Xiling and Longchang. In that case, we can divide our forces to deal with Longao. Heavenly Dao waved his hand and said, I advise you to give up. Why? Yi Dugu was very curious. According to the information he received, the relationship between the other Starry Sky Dominators and Longao wasn't very good. Especially if the Starry Sky Dominators personally came forward, the other Starry Sky Dominators would always give face. On one hand there were 6 Starry Sky Dominators, and on the other hand there was Longao. As long as they weren't stupid, they would know which to choose. Master God Diviner didn't speak, because he also knew that Heavenly Dao was telling the truth. If he could, why would he invite the other starry sky dominators to join forces to deal with Longao? After all, he didn't have the slightest confidence. He had even sent out invitations, but they didn't succeed. Heavenly Tao smiled and said, Longao is too unpredictable. The other starry sky dominators will certainly choose to watch the fire from the other side of the river and reap the benefits from it. Why would they intervene in this matter? If it was just Longao, the other starry sky dominators might help us, but the situation is completely different now. Longao has 2 starry sky dominators with him. How could they intervene? So that's how it is. Yidugu wasn't angry at all, because if he were in this situation, he probably would have made the same choice. The 12 starry sky dominators had always had their own ulterior motives for countless years. If Heavenly Tao and the other 3 starry sky dominators didn't have an extremely bad relationship with Longao, he believed that even Heavenly Tao and the others wouldn't intervene. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.